Chapter 1503. Central Domain, Hidden Dragon Fortress, on the pocket-sized chessboard. As the original body, Yuhauran wasn't good at playing chess, but after obtaining the nimble chess game, his second clone had become better and better at chess under the careful guidance of Thaling and Victor's time acceleration. During the layout, the second clone quickly occupied a corner with a black piece. Then, he defended the corner and hung the corner to form an attack and defense on the corner. Finally, he dismantled the edges and threw the pieces separately, quickly gaining the upper hand in the middle of the board. His absolute control over the board, as well as his accurate judgment of dismantling and eating pieces, allowed him to gradually gain the upper hand in the middle of the board. However, the pocket-sized chessboard was no ordinary chessboard. The second clone and Dongfang Huaiyun weren't ordinary players either. Just as the middle of the board entered a critical moment, both the second clone with the black piece and Dongfang Huaiyun with the white piece began to integrate the formations they were proficient in. Gradually, the pieces and formations, the formations and the chessboard, and the chessboard and the chessboard were completely connected. The formations were so dazzling that it was difficult to see them clearly. Essence, miscellaneous, wonderful, chaotic, profound, I can't see through it. This old man can no longer see through the direction of the entire game. If one were to ask who was the most excited about the battle between the second clone and Dongfang Huaiyun, it would be Qian Bumai, who was also a Formation Dao Grandmaster. When the game had just begun, the second clone and Dongfang Huaiyun had not been integrated into the formations for long. He was still able to explain the direction of the chessboard in detail to Qian Yunjin, who had special feelings for Yuhauran, and Yufei, who was interested in who had the upper hand. However, when the middle board entered a state of strangulation, and every go piece that was condensed from essence, qi, and spirit was fused with many unfathomable formations, Qian Bumai's voice became slower and slower, and his words became more and more cautious. In the end, he directly shook his head, indicating that he could no longer continue to explain the final direction of the entire game. The student has surpassed the master. Qian Bumai could not help but sigh as he looked at Yuhauran, whose expression was as cold as ice, and at Dongfang Huaiyun, whose temperament was as gentle as water. Whether it is the realm of the array Dao, the understanding of the array Dao, or the overall ability to set up the array, Pil Emperor Yu and Dongfang Huaiyun have far surpassed this old man. Grandpa Mai, could it be that Pil Emperor Yu and Big Sister Huaiyun have already reached the realm of Array Emperor? And Yufei, who had a special relationship with the Qian family, was quite familiar with all famous powerful beings of the Qian family. In her opinion, Qian Bumai, whose Array Dao had already reached the pinnacle of the martial Grandmaster realm, was infinitely close to the Array Dao and Array Emperor realm. In that case, Yuhauran and Dongfang Huaiyun, whose array formation cultivation and ability had already surpassed Qian Bumai, could only be an Array Emperor with an even higher level of array formation. No, they're still one step away from breaking through to the Array Emperor realm. Hearing in Yufei's guess, Qian Bumai shook his head and denied it. At the same time, he couldn't help but raise his head and sigh. Although they're only one step away from the Array Emperor realm, to break through to the next level is as difficult as climbing to the sky. Yuhauran, although Qian Bumai's second clone has occupied the middle board, Dongfang Huaiyun, that little girl, has already created a dangerous situation in the middle board, where a group of tigers devour a dragon. Seeing Qian Bumai's second clone take out a black chess piece by concentrating on his spiritual power, Thaling knew that Yuhauran didn't know much about Go games, so he reminded Yuhauran with a serious look on his face. Every time they place a chess piece, not only will it affect the final result of the Array Dao competition, it will also affect the final level of the Array Dao and Array Dao. Although Yuhauran didn't quite understand what a dangerous situation was, Thaling's judgment of Qian Bumai's second clone and Dongfang Huaiyun's Array Dao realm shocked him greatly. Thaling, could it be that Dongfang Huaiyun also has the strength to break through to the Array Emperor realm? That's right. Nodding, Thaling looked at Dongfang Huaiyun with admiration in his eyes and explained further. Just like Qianbu Mai's second clone, Dongfang Huayun is also a pure array master who is obsessed with array Dao and array Dao cultivation. Her cultivation and understanding of array Dao are not inferior to Qianbu Mai's second clone. Now, with the help of the pocket-sized chessboard's ability to accommodate a part of the world, and then using the luck of the countless arrays that have gathered on the chessboard, whoever wins will be able to advance to the array Emperor realm first. After hearing Thaling's explanation, Yu Haoran, who suddenly became nervous, stared at Qianbu Mai's second clone and Dongfang Huayun on the chessboard, carefully observing the changes in their expressions after each of their chess pieces to determine who had the advantage in the chessboard. After nearly half an hour of thinking, Qianbu Mai's second clone decided to first defend the advantage in the middle of the chessboard. Then, he would use the momentum of the dragon's tail to wipe out the corners that Qianbu Mai's opponent occupied. Finally, he would form a fatal situation that could swallow mountains and rivers. After seeing where Qianbu Mai's second clone placed his chess piece, Dongfang Huayun couldn't help but frown slightly. She didn't know whether to place the white chess piece that was condensed from her essence, energy, spirit, and understanding of array Dao. She didn't know if she should continue to place it in the dragon's position or retreat to her own corner advantage. After more than half an hour of careful consideration, she finally chose to defend and counterattack. She would first defend her advantage and then slowly nibble away at the chess pieces in the middle of the chessboard. Finally, she would achieve a fatal situation where the tigers devoured the dragon. Following this, Qianbu Mai's second clone and Dongfang Huayun would spend 10-odd minutes to 1 or 2 hours to place their chess pieces on the chessboard. Yu Haoran had spent less than a day and night in this 400-some battle of attrition, but Qianbu Mai's second clone and Dongfang Huayun's battle of array Dao took 3 days and 3 nights. Just from this point alone, one could see how dangerous and difficult a battle of array Dao and array Dao was. However, even after 3 days and 3 nights, some of the experts who were proficient in Go and array Dao were still unable to determine who would emerge victorious in this battle of array Dao. The two of them were still evenly matched. Phew! When he saw Dongfang Huayun's white chess piece that had just been condensed and placed it in the middle of the chessboard after less than 3 minutes of consideration, Yu Haoran suddenly let out a long sigh of relief. Yu Haoran, what happened? Yu Haoran's sigh of relief immediately alarmed Thaling, who was engrossed in the chessboard, and he couldn't help but ask, Qianbu Mai's second clone is already winning. Yu Haoran replied with a hint of excitement in his eyes. After hearing Yu Haoran's reply, Thaling observed the situation of the chessboard again. He didn't see any hope of Qianbu Mai's second clone winning, so he couldn't help but ask with a frown, Why do you say that? Chapter 1504. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, on the pocket-sized chessboard. After hearing Yu Haoran's reminder, Thaling looked directly at Dongfang Huayun, who had just placed a white chess piece on the pocket-sized chessboard. At this moment, rain-like beads of sweat soaked the front of her white clothes. Her bloodless face was as pale as a sheet of paper, and her exhausted eyes occasionally revealed an anxious expression. She looked back at her second clone, who was steadily placing the black chess piece. She looked slightly tired, but her essence, vitality, and spirit were still at their peak. Her eyes revealed a strong desire to fight. Sigh. After observing the state of the second clone and Dongfang Huayun, Thaling finally understood why Yu Haoran was so confident in the second clone's victory. At the same time, she could not help but sigh. Martial arts as the foundation, support as the foundation. Without a foundation, there is no foundation. Yu Haoran, the second clone's final victory, was only due to his advantage in martial arts. He did not rely on profound formations to defeat Dongfang Huayun. Thaling, regardless of whether it is an advantage in martial arts or formations, it is ultimately a reflection of one's own strength. Yu Haoran had a different opinion about Thaling's sigh. If we really want to be fair, the second clone, who has been cultivating formations for less than 2 years, is clearly at a disadvantage compared to Dongfang Huayun, who has been exposed to formations since he was young. However, The second clone used a stronger physical body and pure origin force and soul power to maintain his essence, vitality, and spirit at their peak, allowing his consciousness to always be under the absolute control of the formations. Fouling. Do you dare to say that this is not the second clone's advantage in formations? Fouling remained silent in the face of Yu Howren's rebuttal, but there was a look of relief in her eyes. This was because Yu Howren's well-organized rebuttal earlier meant that he had begun to shake off his reliance on her. His mind had gradually matured, and his pursuit of martial arts had become firmer. This maturity in mind and change in martial arts was the foundation for breaking through to Emperor Wu and becoming a martial god. The faster the chess piece was placed, the weaker one's control over the chessboard, and the more mistakes one would make when placing a chess piece. As a result, Dongfang Huaiyun did not have any advantage in the middle game, and the second clone gradually took over the edges and corners of the chessboard. By the time she reacted and wanted to save him, the black chess pieces had already formed an ambush from all sides. She had no chance at all to turn the tables. As the black chess pieces on the chessboard continued to devour the white chess pieces, Dongfang Yun's cultivation and comprehension of the formations in the white chess pieces caused the second clone's eyes to gradually outline black and white lines that resembled the power of loss. As the black chess pieces devoured more white chess pieces, the lines in her eyes became more the second clone. When the last white chess piece on the pocket-sized chessboard was swallowed, Dongfang Huaiyun, whose mind was instantly damaged, spat out a mouthful of blood essence. The blood instantly stained the front of her chest. At the same time that Dongfang Huaiyun spat out blood essence, the long black and white lines that had completely formed in the second clone's eyes instantly left his eyes. Then, they intertwined to form a black and white yin and yang pattern above his head. At the same time, a yin and yang pattern also appeared above Yu Hao's divine soul. Yin and yang appear. The formation emperor is formed. After seeing the black and white yin and yang pattern floating above the second clone's head, Qian Bumai, who suddenly stood up, shouted in shock. Formation emperor. Ever since he displayed his talent in formation cultivation, becoming a formation emperor had been his life's goal. For this, he had put in decades of painstaking effort, and even now, he still saw the hope of advancing to a formation emperor. Now, a young man who had just stepped into formation cultivation for less than 3 years had easily become a formation emperor first. This made Qian Bumai shocked, and more bitterness and admiration emerged in his heart. Qian Yunjin, who had experienced Yu Howren's breakthrough to the Pill Emperor realm, opened her cherry-like mouth and looked at Yu Howren in a daze. She unconsciously muttered to herself, "In today's difficult cultivation environment, can there really be an omnipotent and omnipotent genius?" In fact, it wasn't just Qian Bumai and Qian Huijin who were extremely shocked. In the face of Yu Howren's breakthrough to the formation emperor realm, everyone present revealed an extremely shocked expression. This kind of shocked expression was different from when Yu Howren used the Genesis and life and death nomological martial techniques. There was a trace of admiration in the shock, and a trace of worship in the admiration. Alchemy Emperor, Formation Alchemy Emperor, spelled Dao Grandmaster. Martial Dao has the strongest talent of the younger generation. Is it right or wrong for the family to be enemies with such a monster? Hua Shanyu from the Vermilion Bird clan said to herself with a trace of hesitation in her eyes as she watched the yin-yang pattern above Yu Howren's head grow bigger, indicating that he was about to enter the Formation Emperor realm. Alchemy Emperor, Formation Emperor, what kind of monster have I, Peng Yinfei, offended? Peng Yinfei, who was sitting on the back of the purple dragon throne, muttered to himself as he watched the yin-yang pattern grow bigger. It was already the size of an arena. No, I can't agree to Peng Yinfei's request. When facing a monster like Yu Howren, I have to immediately admit defeat. Ji Wenlong shouted, his fists clenched tightly in his sleeves. I don't know if people who have advanced to Alchemy Emperor and Formation Emperor can withstand the immortal extermination strike of Taoist Tong Tian from the Middle Ages. Zhou Mengling, who had just received a message from her father using a special method, ignored the black and white yin-yang pattern and looked directly at Yu Haoran on the pocket-sized chessboard with a cold look in her eyes. Just as Yu Haoran's second doppelganger was breaking through to the Formation Emperor realm, in the nameless valley between the eastern region and the southern region, one of the three white-haired old men who were still sitting cross-legged on the giant silver chessboard suddenly opened his eyes. When he saw the countless yin-yang patterns that had appeared out of thin air in the valley, his expression instantly became serious. It seems that only a month has passed since someone advanced to the Alchemy Emperor realm. The old man in the silver moon robe also opened his eyes and asked the old man in the starry robe with a frown. That's right. The old man in the starry robe nodded and replied, 1 month and 4 days. After nodding in response to the old man in the starry robe, the old man in the silver moon robe ordered coldly, although the birth of the Alchemy Emperor and Formation Emperor will not affect our plan, it is still a hidden danger. Arrange for someone to get rid of him. Okay. Chapter 1505. In the Nameless Valley. The old man's expression gradually became unsightly as the fingers of his left hand moved back and forth. He warned the old man in the silver moon robes in a low voice. Silver Moon, something happened. The silver-robed old man abruptly opened his eyes and asked, what's wrong? Team 9's Team 7 met with an accident not long after leaving the valley. The star-robed old man released his fingers and replied to the silver-robed old man with a heavy tone. The guy who became a pill emperor a month ago is still alive. The silver-robed old man immediately asked, Xing Chun, can you deduce the identity of the person who ambushed Team 7? No, the chaos in the heavenly mystery has affected the operation of the river chart and Book of the Luo. My divination ability has been greatly affected. The old man shook his head and looked up at the clear sky before explaining. Furthermore, the murderer of team member number 7 is also a powerful arcane master who is adept at innate divination. Carefree Valley's Valley Master, Gu Suling. The silver-robed old man immediately gritted his teeth and spoke after hearing the star-robed old man's speculation. It should be her. The old man in starry robes nodded in agreement to the culprit pointed out by the old man in silver moon robes. Then, the two of them looked at each other. At the same time, they looked at the old man who was sitting cross-legged like a mountain and was wearing a scorching sun Taoist robe. However, the old man did not respond to the gazes of the star-robed old man and the silver-robed old man. Xing Chun arranged for number 8, number 9, and number 10 of the God-slaying team to move out at the same time. After killing the Pill Emperor and Array Emperor fellows, get them to kill everyone related to the Carefree Valley Master. He didn't give any response, which meant that they continued to be fully in charge of the plan. Hence, the silver-robed old man retracted his gaze and ordered the star-robed old man with killing intent. All right. The star-robed old man nodded in agreement and immediately used his mind to arrange the elites of the God-slaying team. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, on the pocket-sized chessboard. As the black and white yin-yang pattern grew larger and larger, it gradually began to rotate. Strands of gray energy that contained an indescribable aura quickly gathered from all directions. A portion of the gray energy fused into the rotating yin-yang diagram, while a portion of it entered the body of the second doppelganger and appeared in the yin-yang diagram above Yu Haoran's soul. However, the yin-yang taiji diagram that appeared this time was something that even the pagoda spirit could not detect, let alone Yu Haoran. It was as if the yin-yang taiji diagram was in a different space from Yu Haoran's soul. As more and more gray energy gathered, the yin-yang diagram above the second doppelganger's head became more and more solid and released a mysterious aura. Yu Haoran, now you know the real reason why I didn't refine a natal magic artifact for the second portion. The pagoda spirit reminded Yu Haoran with joy as it looked at the yin-yang diagram that was becoming more and more solid. Understand now, as the main body of the doppelganger, Yu Haoran could clearly sense the yin-yang diagram formed by the formation. Not only did it possess the mysterious power of the formation, but it also contained a terrifying attack power. It was completely suitable to become the second doppelganger's life weapon. The yin-yang diagram is complete. I am the Formation Emperor. After the black and white yin-yang pattern stopped spinning and quickly absorbed the gray energy, the second clone abruptly stood up. After sweeping his gaze across everyone present, he looked at the yin-yang pattern above his head and let out a roar. Following the second doppelganger's shout, the yin-yang diagram in midair disappeared and reappeared above his head before fusing into his soul. Just as the yin-yang diagram entered the second doppelganger's soul, Thowling hurriedly reminded Yu Haoran. Yu Haoran, prepare to shift. Let the second doppelganger return to the victor and cultivate properly. Got it. After nodding in response, Yu Haoran quickly shifted his position with the second doppelganger while the crowd was still in shock. The moment the shift was completed, the mysterious aura of formation on the second doppelganger's body disappeared. Junior sister Dongfang, you've lost. Yu Haoran couldn't help but remind Dongfang Huaiyun when he saw the dejected expression on Dongfang Huaiyun's face. Yu Haoran's reminder caused Dongfang Huaiyun to gradually wake up from her disappointment. She held back the tears that had already reached her eyes and waved her sleeves to put away the pocket-sized chessboard under her feet. Junior sister Dongfang, whether it is the Formation Dao or Pill Dao that assists your cultivation, or the Martial Dao that you mainly cultivate, they all have to be improved step by step. In the end, you will achieve a breakthrough when the conditions are right. Being wrong to the extreme was not something that could be endured even if one wanted to. Looking at Dongfang Huaiyun, who was crying like pearls, Yu Haoran, who felt weak in his heart, couldn't help but comfort her. Don't mind the failure just now. Summing up the experience of the failure just now, in the near future, the door to the Formation Dao and Formation Emperor will definitely be open again for you. At this moment, if anyone else were to persuade Dongfang Huaiyun like this, even if it was her biological father, she might not necessarily listen to them. Only Yu Haoran's comfort could soothe the grievances in her heart. This was because Yu Haoran was not only the person who broke her solid formation core, but also the Formation Dao and Formation Emperor that she worshipped. Yu Shixiang, thank you. While lowering her head and wiping away the tears in her eyes, Dongfang Huaiyun used the silk veil to cover her peerless face again and looked up at Yu Haoran to thank him. Junior sister Dongfang, there's no need to be so polite. Yu Haoran waved his hand and smiled gently. Yu Shixiang, if I have the opportunity to become a Formation Dao and Formation Emperor in the future, I wonder if I could invite you to attend the ceremony? Yu Haoran's comfort helped Dongfang Huaiyun to quickly recover from her disappointment. She also found a direction in which to become a Formation Dao and Formation Emperor in the future from her failure in the formation competition. Yu Haoran's background was too low, and he was not aware of the importance that the inherited families placed on their direct descendants to become Formation Dao and Formation Pill Emperors, as well as the importance of becoming a peak martial honor. When a direct descendant of the inherited families had the opportunity to break through to a higher realm in martial arts or auxiliary cultivation, the family would invite all their relatives and friends to attend the ceremony. This way, not only could the direct descendant's reputation increase, it could also indirectly increase the family's reputation. Therefore, Dongfang Huaiyun hoped that when she had the chance to become a Formation Dao and Formation Emperor, she could receive Yu Haoran's blessings and encouragement on the spot. If I have the time, I will definitely be there. Yu Haoran nodded, but he did not completely tell the truth. After all, after the 5 regions Hidden Dragon ranking competition ended, he would have to enter a busy adventure and could not promise to attend the ceremony 100%. Chapter 1506. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, Arena. The distance between the southern region and the eastern region was tens of millions of miles. Even if Yu Haoran had reached the peak of the 9th grade martial honorable realm, it would take him 3 to 5 days to travel the distance between the central region and the Dongfang family in the eastern region. This was under the condition that there was no delay. Therefore, Dongfang Huayun, who could understand why Yu Haoran did not dare to give a 100% guarantee, took out a jade talisman from her bloodstained dress and wrapped it in yuan qi before delivering it to Yu Haoran. Yu Shi Xiang, this is the highest grade location teleportation talisman. No matter where you are in the Tianxian continent, even if you are in the 10 Great Forbidden Lands, as long as you crush this location teleportation talisman, you will be able to reach the Dongfang family's residence in an instant. After hearing Dongfang Huayun's introduction of the Jade Talisman, Yu Haoran's breathing quickened and his eyes revealed his desire to obtain it. This was not just a location teleportation talisman. It was a protective talisman that could save one's life at a critical moment. Especially for Yu Haoran, who planned to enter the 10 Great Forbidden Lands. It was a trump card that would allow him to take the risk and enter even more dangerous Forbidden Lands. Damn it! Looking at the precious location teleportation talisman that Dongfang Huayun had given to Yu Haoran, Ji Yunshu was shocked. Furthermore, it was a location teleportation talisman that had been taken out from her secret place. On the stage, Ji Hanyu's face instantly darkened. His gaze towards Dongfang Huayun revealed a trace of viciousness. Thowling, how do you think I should repay Dongfang Huayun so that I can accept this location teleportation talisman with a clear conscience? Looking at the location teleportation talisman floating before him, Yu Haoran was very eager to obtain it. However, he did not want to owe Dongfang Huayun a favor in case he encountered something that would cause him headaches in the future. After thinking about it, he could only ask for help from the Thowling in his mind. Easy. In response to Yu Haoran's request for help, Thowling responded confidently. He immediately took out a blank jade slip and recorded the 3 different formations on the Linglong chessboard with his divine sense. After a brief introduction, he signaled Yu Haoran to give it to Dongfang Huayun. For Dongfang Huayun, who was obsessed with the cultivation of array formations, giving him a legacy array formation that could improve his cultivation of array formations was the best reward. Therefore, while Yu Haoran was very satisfied with the gift that Thowling had prepared for him, he also wrapped it in elemental energy and sent it to Dongfang Huayun. Junior Apprentice Sister Dongfang, this jade slip contains a heaven-rank defensive formation, a heaven-rank offensive formation, and a heaven-rank offensive formation. I hope it will be helpful to your formation cultivation. After hearing Yu Haoran's reminder, Dongfang Huayun immediately reached out and took the jade slip floating in front of him. Then, he used his mind to check the 3 formations recorded in the jade slip. After only seeing a trace of the defensive formation, she couldn't help but tremble slightly. She looked up at Yu Haoran and said with a different emotion in her eyes, Yu Shi Xiang, with this jade slip you gave me, Yin will definitely be able to advance to the realm of Array Emperor in 1 month or 3 months. Dongfang Huayun's affirmation of the rank 3 formation in the jade slip made Qianbu Mai's eyes light up. He began to think about what kind of treasure he could use to exchange for a heaven rank formation from Yu Haoran that could also help improve his cultivation of array formations. Seeing that the 3 formations prepared by Thowling could bring such a great harvest to Dongfang Huayun, Yu Haoran secretly breathed a sigh of relief and accepted the location inheritance talisman with a clear conscience. However, he didn't give the other party a 100% guarantee to watch the ceremony because of the location transmission talisman. Junior Sister Dongfang, it's almost time. In order to prevent Dongfang Huayun from continuing to invite him to witness her advancement to the realm of Array Emperor, Yu Haoran, who had accepted the location transmission talisman, pointed to the list in the air and reminded her. Dongfang Huayun, who was immersed in the hope of advancing to the realm of Array Emperor, temporarily forgot that the other party had not given her a 100% guarantee. Therefore, after hearing Yu Haoran's reminder, she quickly admitted defeat to the list in the air. I admit defeat. After admitting defeat, Dongfang Huayun, who was eager to continue comprehending the array formations in the jade slip, waved at Yu Haoran and immediately left the arena. He couldn't help but heave a long sigh of relief. The shock of the array Dao array master advancing to the array emperor realm caused the next dozen or so contestants to admit defeat as expected by everyone present. This also allowed the points behind Yu Haoran's name to reach 401 points. However, what surprised everyone was that Ji Wenlong, who came from a Yushu temple, actually admitted defeat as soon as he stepped onto the arena like any other contestant. This was completely unbecoming of his status as the crown prince of the Yushu temple's heavenly palace. Ji Wenlong's expression was calm, but his heart was not calm at all. He knew that if he took the initiative to admit defeat, he would definitely lose points in front of the higher-ups of the Yushu temple. However, compared to his own life, losing face and points seemed insignificant. At this time, apart from the champions of the East, West, North, and Central regions, as well as the contestant ranked second on the 5 regions list, the remaining 10 contestants from the 5 regions were all below the top 10 on the list. In other words, there were only 9 people left who could really pose a threat to Yu Haoran. Among them, Wu Jingjun, who was as close as a brother to him, was excluded. Either admit defeat or die. With his hand behind his back, Yu Haoran looked coldly at Chang Liza, who was ranked second on the Eastern region list. Chang Liza had a hesitant look in his eyes, and he gave him a choice in a frosty tone. Alas, the cold gaze and frosty tone made Chang Liza know that he could not receive the same treatment as Xia Qianqi and Dongfang Yun. Therefore, after a long sigh, he raised his head and admitted defeat to the list in midair. I admit defeat. Either admit defeat or die. With the same cold gaze and frosty tone, Yu Haoran gave Cho Heian, who had just stepped onto the arena, the same choice. I admit defeat. Cho Heian, who did not have a trace of hesitation in his eyes, admitted defeat to the list with a faint smile on his face. Then, he saluted Yu Haoran with a fist and palm salute, and then left the arena. I admit defeat. Cui Hongwei, who was ranked second on the Western region ranking list, had directly admitted defeat before Yu Haoran had even given him the choice of admitting defeat or dying. This caused Yu Haoran's expression to be slightly gentle as he nodded in response. It seems that you won't admit defeat voluntarily. Chapter 1507. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress in the Arena. That's right, Zhou Mingling said arrogantly as she nodded to confirm Yu Haoran's question. Among the younger generation in the Tianxian continent, there is no one who can make me, Zhou Lingming, admit defeat. This includes Yu Haoran, who has advanced to become an alchemy emperor and an array emperor. Very well. Yu Haoran gritted his teeth in response to Zhou Mingling's arrogant reply. During the courtyard challenge, Zhou Mingling would rather expose one of her trump cards and capture Yusiki alive, because she did not want to offend him and force him to refuse to refine pills for the Zhou family. Now, when most of the contestants had chosen to admit defeat, she had chosen to fight him head-on. This meant that she was no longer afraid of his abilities as a pill emperor and was planning to shed all pretense of cordiality. Although he could not kill Zhou Mingling directly to allow Yufei to successfully take back everything she had lost, he could choose to severely injure her during the fight and collect some interest for Yufei in advance. Yu Haoran, there's a change in the plan. I'm afraid you'll need to set up the combat star-stepping formation in advance. Just as Yu Haoran began to activate the physical strength of the ancestral witch and planned to teach Zhou Mingling a lesson with the fist and palm techniques that he had inherited from the ancestral witch, Faling suddenly suggested with a solemn expression. Faling, aren't you lacking the materials to refine the combat star-stepping formation flag? Yu Haoran immediately thought of Faling's suggestion at the entrance of Anyang village. When he had asked Faling to set up the combat star-stepping formation to help in Yufei, he had given him a reason to refuse. That's right, Faling explained as he took the nimble chessboard from Victor's second clone while nodding in confirmation. However, with a nimble chessboard that can set up most killing formations in the world, it's enough to replace the materials needed to refine the formation flag and successfully set up a more powerful combat star-stepping formation. Faling, why are you in such a hurry to set up the formation? Although he had the Linglong chessboard, which could replace the material used to refine the formation flag, he was still doubtful when he thought about how Thaling was worried that he would not be able to withstand the anger of the Zhou clan and had asked him to use the hidden dragon luck to support himself. Only after his cultivation had advanced to the peak of 9th grade martial venerable could he make a move. He was still doubtful. Because only by setting up the Dou Dipper step formation in advance can you preserve your life from Zhou Lingming's attacks and obtain the final victory. Looking at the sword in the scabbard in Zhou Mengling's hand, Thaling explained with a serious expression. Why? Yu Haoran asked, even more puzzled. Although Zhou Mengling was ranked second in the central region, her true strength was not necessarily stronger than Feng Tingting's. Since the 18 dragon-subduing palms of the Ancestral, which could defeat Feng Tingting, it could also defeat Zhou Mengling. Therefore, Yu Haoran did not understand why he needed the help of the Budu cover formation. Because of the sword in her hand, the tower spirit reminded him with a hint of sadness in its voice. The sword. After hearing Thaling's reminder, Yu Haoran looked at the sword in Zhou Mengling's hand. He did not find the sword in the scabbard to be powerful. Seeing that Yu Haoran had noticed the sword in the scabbard in her hand, Zhou Mengling's face immediately showed a trace of a proud smile. Then, she raised the sword in her hand and said, just like Yu Haoran had given the other contestants the same choice. Either you admit defeat or you die. With a cold light flashing in his eyes, Yu Haoran forcibly suppressed the strong murderous intent in his heart and carefully listened to Thaling's explanation of the origin of the sword in the scabbard in Zhou Mengling's hand. Yu Haoran, do you still remember when we went to the Merlin Mountain Range? I mentioned Gui Guzi's 7 disciples. Seeing that Zhou Mengling wanted to destroy Yu Haoran's confidence before she was willing to use the power of the sword, Thaling began to introduce the origin of the sword in her hand. Of course I remember. It had not been long. So how could Yu Haoran forget Gui Guzi, who no one could see through? Gui Guzi's 3rd disciple, Immortal Tong Tian, whose refining skills were second only to Yun Zhongzi, was actually a supreme master who entered the Tao through killing. And his natal sword, the 4 immortal slaying swords, was not only a killing weapon used by him to prove his Tao, but also a supreme artifact that accompanied him to the supreme master realm. Thaling, do you mean that the sword in Zhou Mengling's hand with the scabbard is actually the immortal slaying supreme artifact? Thaling deliberately mentioned Immortal Tong Tian and his natal supreme artifact, so that Yu Haoran could immediately guess the origin of the sword in Zhou Mengling's hand. Yes and no. Thaling nodded and then shook his head. There was a trace of recollection in his eyes as he said, Immortal Tong Tian's natal sword is composed of the immortal ending sword, the immortal trapping sword, the immortal killing sword, and the immortal slaying sword. Only when the 4 swords are gathered together can it be called a supreme artifact, and only when the 4 swords are gathered together can it kill a supreme master of the same realm. Yu Haoran, there were 3 supreme masters in the Buddhism sect in the Middle Ages, and 2 of them were killed by Immortal Tong Tian using the 4 immortal slaying swords. Thaling, which of the 4 swords is the sword in Zhou Mengling's hand? What kind of heaven-defying power can it exert? The 4 immortal slaying swords gathered together to kill a supreme master. After hearing Thaling's detailed introduction of Immortal Tong Tian's natal sword, Yu Haoran's heart was as shocked as a stormy sea, and he wanted to know the origin of the sword in Zhou Mengling's hand. The immortal ending sword is the weakest of the 4 swords. If its full power is unleashed, it can easily kill a God Realm expert at the peak of the 7th grade martial God Realm. After retracting his gaze from the sword in Zhou Mengling's hand, Thaling finished explaining the origin and power of the immortal ending sword. He looked straight into Yu Haoran's eyes and said with a slightly apologetic tone, Yu Haoran, the reason why I used the Linglong chessboard to set up the fighting and stepping formation in advance, other than helping you in the competition and helping you make up for the regrets of your previous life, is also to use the competition rules of the Hidden Dragon rankings to take back the immortal ending sword that belonged to Taoist Tong Tian. Thaling, what do you need me to do next? Whether it was to save his own life or to satisfy Thaling's wish, Yu Haoran did not hesitate in the slightest. Yu Haoran's decisive attitude made Thowling feel deeply gratified. At the same time, he quickly told him his plan to take back the immortal ending sword. Yu Haoran, first, I will use a special secret method to merge the victor into your body, so that you can withstand the immortal ending sword's attack. Secondly, you will use the palm technique passed down by the ancestor of sorcery and use close combat to disturb Zhou Mengling's attention. Then move according to my instructions. This way, I will be able to set up the fighting and stepping formation. Chapter 1508. In the arena of the hidden dragon fortress in the central region. Thowling, let's begin. After hearing Thowling's detailed plan to take back the celestial slashing sword, Yu Haoran took a deep breath. Then, while mobilizing the wizard ancestor's physical strength, he directly overdrew a part of the wizard ancestor's bloodline in order to increase the power of the 18 dragons subduing palms and the wizard ancestor's inherited fist technique. This would attract more of Zhou Mengling's attention and make it easier for Thowling to set up the fighting star stepping formation. Zhou Mengling, my choice is to let you die. After everything was ready, Yu Haoran replied to Zhou Mengling's choice with a grim smile. He directly used the speed of the rule of speed and rushed in front of her in an instant. The arrogant dragon repents. Zhou Mengling, who had always been on high alert, already knew that Yu Haoran would definitely use his advantage of speed to launch an attack when he had just given his choice. Therefore, she did not panic at all and directly used the sword in her hand to stab the purple dragon head that stretched out of her palm. Poof! Zhou Mengling did not use too much of her strength. The sword wrapped in the scabbard directly pierced through the purple dragon head. Yu Haoran's expression could not help but change slightly. At the same time, he immediately used the complete realm of the rule of flash to avoid the danger of the scabbard and the sword further attacking his palm. Fist breaking the firmament. The moment he avoided the attack of the scabbard and the sword, Yu Haoran did not pause at all and used the fist technique that had the power of tearing. However, just by waving the scabbard and the sword in his hand, the tearing energy formed by the fist technique was directly shattered. Yu Haoran, I forgot to tell you that the scabbard and the celestial slashing sword are one divine weapon. They both have a terrifying attack power and a terrifying defense at the level of a top divine weapon. Therefore, you only need to use harassment to attract the opponent's attention. Seeing that Yu Haoran wanted to break the defense of the sword and directly hurt Zhou Mengling, Thowling secretly set up the fighting star stepping formation and hurriedly reminded him. Thowling, don't worry about me. I know what to do. How could Yu Haoran not know how terrifying the defense of the scabbard was, since it was able to envelop the body of a peerless sword that had killed a peak 7th grade martial god? The reason why he switched between palm and fist techniques was because he wanted to use the terrifying defense of the scabbard to help him master the essence of palm and fist techniques as soon as possible. Fist-shattering Milky Way. While responding to Thowling's reminder, Yu Haoran did not hesitate and directly performed the third fist technique. Soaring Dragon. Just as Zhou Mengling used her sword scabbard to break the fist technique, Yu Haoran's second palm technique had already arrived in front of her. Zhou Mengling quickly drew her sword and placed it in front of her. Although she managed to block the attack of the purple dragon head in time, the powerful impact of the palm strike made her take half a step back. See Dragon in the Wild. While Zhou Mengling hastily raised her sword to block the second palm technique, Yu Haoran tried to integrate the flash law into the third palm technique. He instantly circled behind his opponent and used the third palm technique, which was even stranger, to attack the vital part of his opponent's back. At the same time, the impact of the second palm technique caused Zhou Mengling to take half a step back. Sensing the fierce palm technique behind her, Zhou Mengling, who had no time to use her sword scabbard to defend herself, activated her defensive Dharma artifact as fast as she could. Boom! Although the third palm technique, See Dragon in the Wild, had accurately hit the vital part of his opponent's back, the high-grade Venerable Realm defensive Dharma artifact that had been activated in an instant caused Yu Haoran's carefully prepared attack to fail. He immediately retreated without any hesitation. The sword scabbard in Ling's hand hit the spot where he had been standing, fist suppressing the earth. Just now, he had used the perfect combination between the palm technique and the flash law of lightning. This made Yu Haoran want to further perfect the fusion of the fist technique, the palm technique, and the law of lightning, and then improve the perfect combination between the three different powers. Sudden attack. While Zhou Mingling was waving her sword scabbard to shatter the heavy mountain formed by the fist technique, Yu Haoran, who had appeared on her right side with the flash law, immediately performed an even faster palm technique. He ruthlessly slapped the vital part of his opponent's mountain. Oomph. Seeing that Yu Haoran had used the second quick transition between martial arts techniques to directly attack her hidden vital part, Zhou Mingling's face instantly turned cold. She snorted coldly. Then, she used the powerful defense of her high-grade Venerable Realm defensive Dharma artifact to forcefully withstand her opponent's attack. After that, she held the sword scabbard with her right hand and slowly pulled out a part of the sword with her left hand. An indescribable and unimaginably terrifying sword chi shot out from the sword that Zhou Mingling had pulled out. Oh no! Feeling the terrifying power of the sword chi, Zhongli Shuiqin's expression changed. She immediately took a step forward and stood in front of Wu Zhengjun and Qin Lingfei. She quickly took out a withered branch and waved it at the sword chi that had shot out. The sword chi immediately flew back. Zhongli Shuiqin, who had powerful strength and a mysterious treasure, was able to protect Qin Lingfei and Wu Zhengjun in time. However, for the contestants below the arena who did not react fast enough and did not have the protection of top experts around them, the sword chi had made them very unlucky. While they were forcefully blown away by the sword chi, they kept spurting out blood as if it was free of charge. If the hidden dragon luck on the list had not acted in time to quickly set up a powerful protective shield in the arena, at least half of the contestants would have died under the sword chi. This is seeing that Zhou Mingling had only pulled out a part of the scabbard, and the sword chi that had shot out had even startled the hidden dragon luck on the list. Yuan Sangqiong frowned and looked at the scabbard. He carefully recalled the famous sword that he was familiar with. The highest elder of Yushu Temple and Huashanyu also frowned and searched their memories about the origin of the sword. Only Zhou Chufeng, the ancestor of the Zhou family, whose cultivation had reached the level of the third tribulation quasi, Emperor Wu, had a smug smile in his eyes. Could it be the supreme artifact that even the ancestor is afraid of? Zhongli Shuiqin looked at Zhou Mingling, who had put the sword back into the scabbard, and said to herself with a serious expression, although the victor's protection, which had been integrated into his body, could withstand the damage of the sword chi, the terrible impact formed by the sword chi was not something that Yu Haoran could withstand. If Thowling had not acted in time, he was afraid that the terrible impact formed by the sword chi would have knocked him out of the arena and disqualified him from participating in the tag team battle. Looking at Zhou Mingling, who had put the sword back into the scabbard, Yu Haoran asked with a serious expression, Thowling, how is the fighting and stepping formation? Chapter 1509. In the arena of the Hidden Dragon Fortress in the Central Region, 90% of the arrangement has been completed. Next, we only need to set the nimble chessboard at the center of the formation to activate the power of the formation. Thowling, who was familiar with the immortal Tong Tian, certainly knew the terrifying power of the immortal eliminating sword. Therefore, he wasn't surprised at all when Zhou Mingling pulled out a sword and released a sharp sword chi. Instead, he introduced the situation of the formation and instructed Yu Haoran on what to do next. Yu Haoran, next, you must use your extreme speed to reach the position where Zhou Mingling is standing before she pulls out the immortal eliminating sword for the second time, because that position is the center of the formation. Thowling, don't worry, I know what to do. After replying to Thowling, Yu Haoran began to look for the best time to attack. Yu Haoran, I didn't expect you to have such a powerful defensive celestial device. The sharp sword chi, which could disturb the fate of the hidden dragon, only pushed Yu Haoran back dozens of steps without causing him any harm. This made Zhou Mingling extremely shocked and at the same time, she immediately knew that Yu Haoran might have a defensive celestial device of a higher grade. Zhou Mingling, why can you get a supreme sword from the Middle Ages, but Yu Haoran can't get a top defensive emperor weapon? Yu Haoran was afraid that the strong defense he had just displayed would arouse the suspicion and greed of some of the people present. So he purposely lowered the grade of the territory tower and directly pointed out the origins of the scabbard and sword in Zhou Mingling's hand. Then, he used the strong contrast between the grade of the artifact and the inheritance to make the people present completely overlook his amazing performance just now. Supreme Sword. After hearing Yu Haoran point out the origin of the sword in Zhou Mingling's hand, some of the top experts who knew and were familiar with the origin and power of supreme, celestial devices changed their expressions slightly, and at the same time, their eyes revealed a strong sense of greed. Yuan Sangxiong, the leader of the Heavenly Demon Sect, and the Grand Elder of the Yushu Temple were among them. Yu Haoran, a supreme-level divine artifact, was still owned by the most powerful supreme-level experts in the Antiquity Age and the Middle Age. My Zhou clan's ancestor was only a god-level expert, and his most powerful natal spiritual artifact, the Fortune Abacus, had been lost long ago. How could he have possibly obtained a supreme-level divine artifact? Zhou Mingling could feel the intense greed in the eyes of the countless top experts in the stands. While feeling a trace of panic in her heart, she hurriedly denied and defended herself. Zhou Mingling's slightly panicked reaction made Yu Haoran immediately realize that this was an opportunity to fulfill Thaling's instructions. Thus, his eyes quickly revealed a hint of disdain as he goaded her. Zhou Mingling, as the core disciple of the Zhou clan, which has been passed down to the Middle Age, you have the strongest strength of the younger generation in the Tianxin continent. Since you have the heaven-defying opportunity to obtain a supreme-level divine artifact, then you should openly admit it. Otherwise, it will really damage your current status and reputation. Yu Haoran, don't talk nonsense. The sword in my hand is not a supreme-level divine artifact at all. Yu Haoran's invitation and the increasingly heavy breathing of the top experts in the surroundings made Zhou Mingling even more flustered as she denied it. There was a mysterious expert in the Middle Age called Gui Guzi. Although Zhou Mingling's state of mind was even more flustered at this time and was already suitable for a sudden sneak attack, considering her own extreme speed, she was far inferior to the speed at which the opponent immediately drew the sword and the fierce sword chi that erupted from the celestial ending sword. Therefore, Yu Haoran resisted the urge to make a move and revealed a confident smile on his face. Then he walked towards Zhou Mingling with a smile, while explaining the origin of the celestial ending sword in detail. Senior Gui Guzi had a total of 7 disciples. Among them, the third was Sage Tongtian. Not only was he a powerful weapon refiner in the Middle Age whose cultivation realm was second only to Yun Zhongzi, but he was also a supreme-level expert who entered the Tao through killing. Senior Tongtian gathered 9 types of immortal gold from the 9 heavens, fused 9 types of divine iron from the deep sea, and used the Chaos Vitality Stone that was left behind at the beginning of the world. With the help of the blood of billions of living beings, he finally forged the immortal slaying supreme divine sword that accompanied him as he grew up. The celestial ending sword of the 4 immortal slaying swords. Zhongli Shuiqin, who had used the secret treasure in her hand to block the fierce sword chi, already had doubts about the origin of the sword in Zhou Mingling's hand. Now, after hearing Yu Haoran's further introduction, she immediately guessed the true origin of the sword that was wrapped in the scabbard. Then, she cried out involuntarily with a shocked expression. Zhongli Shuiqin's involuntary cry instantly caused Zhou Mingling to panic and couldn't help but turn her head to look. Good chance. Seeing that Zhou Mingling's attention was attracted by Zhongli Shuiqin, Yu Haoran was secretly delighted. He immediately used his extreme speed and appeared in front of her in a flash. At the same time, the most powerful move of the 18 dragons subduing palms, Divine Dragon swings its tail, directly attacked her wrist that was holding the extinguishing celestial sword. You're courting death. Yu Haoran's sudden sneak attack made Zhou Mengling, who quickly came back to her senses, cry out softly. She immediately used the scabbard of the extinguishing celestial sword to shatter the purple dragon tail and intended to pull out the extinguishing celestial sword in her hand. Formation completed, but at this time, Yu Haoran cooperated with the Thaling in the sea of consciousness. His 10 fingers formed a mark of nothingness and directly integrated the exquisite chessboard into the arena under Zhou Mengling's feet. Then, the moment Zhou Mengling was about to pull out the extinguishing celestial sword, he quickly retreated to the edge of the arena. Yu Haoran's sudden retreat made Zhou Mengling puzzled. She immediately stopped the action of pulling out the sword and then lowered her head to check the mark of nothingness that was integrated into the arena under her feet. In the end, she found nothing. However, thinking that Yu Haoran was a formation emperor who had just reached the formation Dao realm and could casually arrange a heaven-rank formation, Zhou Mengling did not dare to be careless. She intended to withdraw to the edge of the arena, but unexpectedly found that her feet seemed to be fixed on the arena. Regarding this, Zhou Mengling did not panic too much in her heart, because no matter how ingenious Yu Haoran's formation was, it could not withstand the fierce sword chi emitted by the extinguishing celestial sword. Therefore, when her left hand that was tightly holding the sword hilt wanted to pull out the extinguishing celestial sword, she was extremely frightened to find that her hands were also unable to move. This made Zhou Mengling really panic, and at the same time, she could not help but shout at Yu Haoran. "Yu Haoran, what did you do to me?" The change in Zhou Mengling's expression just now made Yu Haoran completely believe the Thaling's introduction of the fighting star stepping formation. At the same time, he let out a long sigh of relief and said with a cold expression on his face, "Zhou Mengling, don't worry. I will definitely not harm your life. I'm just taking back what originally belonged to someone for them. Yu Haoran, you want to take away the extinguishing celestial sword from my hands." Without any consideration, Zhou Mengling angrily pointed out Yu Haoran's sinister intentions. Chapter 1510. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, Arena. Yu Haoran glanced coldly at Zhou family's forefather, Zhou Chufeng, who was in the stands. He ignored the other party's threat. Turning back, he walked toward Zhou Mengling while calmly replying to her accusation. First of all, the celestial slashing sword is neither your natal sword nor your Zhou clan's inherited supreme celestial artifact. It belonged to the supreme celestial master of the Middle Ages and his best friend. Secondly, not only do I have to take back the celestial ending sword for Prime Tontian best friend, but I also have to take back everything that belongs to a poor girl from you. Lastly, I need you to pass on a message to your father, Zhou Yu's. Yu Haoran walked in front of Zhou Mengling, whose eyes were filled with anger, fear, panic, and doubt. He turned his head and glanced at Zhou Chufeng, whose face was full of sternness, and said solemnly, "Zhou Mengling, after the competition for the 5 regions Hidden Dragon rankings ends, go back and tell your father that cooperating with the Primordial God clan is no different from asking a tiger for its skin. Don't let the entire Zhou clan fall into a bottomless abyss while you ruin your own daughter's happiness." After hearing Yu Haoran's last message to her father, Zhou Mengling's eyes were filled with even more confusion. She did not understand what relationship the Zhou family had with the ancient God clan. But Zhou Chufeng, who was in the stands, could not help but change his expression. A strong murderous intent flashed in his eyes. "Zhou Chufeng, what is your Zhou family trying to do?" Yu Haoran's last message to Zhou Yu's revealed a shocking secret. Hua Shanyu from the Vermilion Bird family leaped into the air and questioned with a murderous intent. The plan that the 4 great guardian families had been preparing for countless years was about to reach a critical moment. If the ancient God clan suddenly descended upon the Tianxian continent at this time, it would definitely affect the plan. If the ancient God clan joined forces with the Zhou family, it was even possible that the 4 great guardian families would suffer unimaginable losses. At the same time, Zhongli Shuiqin and the Grand Elder of the Yushu Temple also leaped into the air. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent as they looked at Zhou Chufeng. Because the Zhongli family and the Yushu temple also had their own plans, the alliance between the ancient God clan and the Zhou family could also threaten the interests of their respective powers. The hidden dragon fortune in the ranking list did not appear. Miss Zhongli, Elder, and Elder Ji, don't listen to this use venomous slander. The ancient God clan was long destroyed in the Great Apocalypse. How could our family have any relationship with the dead race? Zhou Chufeng's strong mental fortitude allowed him to quickly calm down. At the same time, he used a seemingly invulnerable reason to make the three people in the air look directly at Yu Haoran, who was in the arena. Keep pretending. Keep pretending. In the face of Zhou Chufeng's seemingly invulnerable reason, Yu Haoran sneered sarcastically and looked up at Zhongli Shuiqin. Miss Shuiqin, before the hidden dragon ranking battle of the southern region began, I once entered the hidden dragon fairyland of the Emperor Qin Kingdom with Zhengjun. I saw with my own eyes the almighty God clan experts whose cultivation had reached the level of Emperor Wu. I also killed a young God clan expert who used a special coffin to devour the essence of exotic beasts. That's right. Seeing that Wu Zhengjun needed him to testify, he immediately stopped the breakthrough of his state of mind. He nodded to confirm, and further confirmed with Zhongli Shuiqin. If you still don't believe me, you can use the demonic cultivator's soul-searching secret technique to check my memories of the hidden dragon fairyland. I believe you, Zhongli Shuiqin hurriedly said. How could she use the soul-searching technique on the man she loved? Looking at Hua Shanyu of the Vermilion Bird clan, Yu Haoran continued. As for why I said that the Zhou clan is related to the ancient God clan, you just need to continue watching my next move. Nodding, Hua Shanyu returned to the stone chair on the east side of the stands. Half of her attention was on Zhou Chufeng, and the other half was on Yu Haoran. She wanted to see how he would prove the sinister intention of the Zhou clan and the ancient God clan alliance. Zhou mingling, Yu Haoran, think that my talent and potential are already quite good. However, I still don't have the confidence to pull out the celestial slashing sword that can kill a peak 7th grade martial god. Looking back at Zhou mingling, whose eyes were full of doubts, Yu Haoran questioned through his own performance. And you, Zhou mingling, are not the descendant of the bloodline inheritance of the Tongtian sovereign, and you don't have the powerful strength that I have. Then, how did you pull out the celestial slashing sword? This sword was obtained in my dream. It means that it is destined to be with me, Zhou mingling. Forcibly suppressing the confusion in her heart caused by Yu Haoran's revelation of the alliance between the Zhou clan and the ancient God clan, Zhou mingling stubbornly lied. Since we are destined to be with each other, then it's not strange that I can easily pull out the sword. Huh? Zhou mingling's face was not red, and her heart was not beating fast. Yu Haoran could not help but look up to the sky and laugh loudly. Yu Haoran, shut up. Yu Haoran's loud laughter was very harsh to Zhou mingling's ears. She, who was already very guilty, could not help but shout loudly. Among the Tongtian sovereign's 4 immortal killing swords, although the celestial slashing sword is the weakest, its power is enough to easily kill a peak 7th grade martial god in the god realm. If you want to pull out the celestial slashing sword from the scabbard, you have to have the strength of the peak 9th grade Emperor Wu in the demigod realm, or you have to overdraft your own potential. Yu Haoran abruptly stopped laughing, and his smile was immediately replaced by anger. Zhou mingling, you have already pulled out the peerless sword once. Why don't I see any damage to your potential? Yu Haoran, I've already clearly explained to you that I got this sword in my dream. If you want to pull it out, you don't need to go through the 2 conditions you just mentioned. Zhou mingling, it seems that you won't shed tears until you see the coffin. You won't turn back until you hit the wall. Seeing that Zhou mingling was still stubbornly using lies to defend herself, Yu Haoran sneered and mocked her. He did not want to continue talking nonsense with her. Following the Thaling in his sea of consciousness, he made a formation to open the seal. At the same time, he shouted and merged the seal into the exquisite chessboard. Stellar transposition. Following Yu Haoran's shout, a pentagonal formation immediately appeared under Zhou mingling's feet. A different colored energy pillar rose from each corner of the formation. red, yellow, blue, green, and purple energy pillars as thick as an arm. Chapter 15:11. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, Arena. Return it to its rightful owner. Yu Haoran pointed at an Yufei, who was sitting next to Qian Buomai, when he saw the five-colored energy pillar emerging from Zhou Mengling's head. As Yu Haoran shouted for the second time, the five-colored energy pillar rushed toward an Yufei, who had a frightened expression on her face. Yufei, don't panic. I don't mean you any harm. The five-colored energy pillar won't hurt you. Yu Haoran hurriedly explained when he saw an Yufei trying to dodge the five-colored energy pillar with a frightened expression. Yufei, the five-colored energy pillar represents talent, potential, perseverance, comprehension, and bloodline. These are the things that belonged to you in the past. I'm just taking them back for you. Yu Haoran's gesture and explanation of the energy pillar filled in Yufei's heart with confusion. However, she didn't think of dodging and allowed the five-colored energy pillar to enter her body. Just as the five-colored energy pillar entered in Yufei's body, an extremely powerful aura erupted from her body. Not only did she lose control of her body and fly into the air, but the special mask on her face was also completely shattered, revealing the peerless beauty under the mask. Isn't this senior Sister Mengling? Feng Tingting, who had seen Zhou Mengling's true appearance, couldn't help but mutter in her heart when she saw in Yufei's peerless beauty. Zhou family's forefather, Zhou Chufeng, couldn't help but change his expression. His eyes revealed a panicked expression. Elixir Emperor Yu, what's wrong with me? Although she could clearly feel that her talent, potential, perseverance, comprehension, bloodline, and cultivation were constantly improving, this kind of uncontrollable improvement made Yufei feel somewhat at a loss. She asked Yu Haoran in a slightly sobbing tone, "What's the matter?" Yu Haoran didn't answer Yufei's question for now. He walked straight to Zhou Mengling. "Yu Haoran, I beg you, don't do this to me." Zhou Mengling could vaguely guess what Yu Haoran was trying to do, as she was constantly feeling weak, and her cultivation base and strength were rapidly declining. Losing her talent as a proud daughter of heaven meant that she had lost her transcendent status. She had also lost the hope of reaching a higher realm in the future. If she were to reveal that she looked exactly like an Yufei, she would definitely become the target of criticism. This was something she could not bear. Therefore, when she saw Yu Haoran walking towards her, Zhou Mengling couldn't help but beg bitterly. Unfortunately, in the face of Zhou Mengling's pleading, Yu Haoran did not pay any attention to it. He directly reached out his hand, intending to remove the white silk veil from her face. "Yu Xixiang, as long as you are willing to let me go, not only will I obediently give you the celestial ending sword, I will also willingly become your servant. I will do whatever you ask me to do, including that kind of thing." Seeing Yu Haoran reach out and pinch a corner of the white silk, Zhou Mengling, whose psychological line of defense collapsed in an instant, gave a humiliating request and condition. This also made the many contestants, who were obsessed with Zhou Mengling's celestial water, reveal looks of envy and jealousy. "I'm not interested in you." After a cold reply, Yu Haoran directly forcefully removed the white silk veil from her face, revealing her peerless face that was identical to an Yufei's. What's going on?" After seeing Zhou Mengling and an Yufei's peerless appearance, most of the people present couldn't help but turn pale with fright and cry out involuntarily. The soul-stealing art, a secret art created by the ancient gods and demons. Looking at the two people who had the same peerless appearance, and feeling Zhou Mengling's aura continuously dropping and in Yufei's aura continuously increasing, Zhongli Shuiqin, whose delicate fists were tightly clenched, couldn't help but gnash her teeth as she muttered to herself, "Pill Emperor Yu, what's going on?" Originally, due to the strange changes in her body, and Yufei appeared to be very panicked. Now, after seeing Zhou Mengling, who had the same appearance as her heart was filled with even more panic, causing her to directly cry and ask, "Yufei, actually your surname is not Un, but Zhou. You are the biological daughter of Zhou Yuz, the head of the Zhou clan, and the twin sister of Zhou Mingling. Yu Haoran slowly rose into the air and flew in front of an Yufei, revealing a trace of pity in his eyes as he spoke. Furthermore, your talent, potential, perseverance, comprehension, and the density of your ancestral bloodline far surpass your sister Zhou Mingling's. Looking at Yu Haoran, who had flown in front of her, and listening to his explanation of her background, and Yufei, who had stopped crying, hurriedly asked, "Pill Emperor Yu, then why did I leave the Zhou clan? Although your talent is very outstanding, you inherited your mother's gentle and kind personality and became an obstacle to your father's plan to restore the Zhou dynasty's glory. And although your sister Zhou Mengling's talent is average, she inherited your father's ruthless personality and could very well complete his plan to restore the Zhou dynasty's glory." Seeing that in Yufei's emotions were gradually calming down, Yu Haoran, based on his understanding of human nature, began to speculate the reason why Zhou Yu's treated the two sisters differently. Therefore, under the arrangements of your father, Zhou Yu's, the fate of you and your sister Zhou Mingling had completely different changes. Pill Emperor Yu, since my talent is so outstanding, why do I appear so ordinary now? Because of her personality, she was abandoned by her biological father. This made Yufei feel extremely pained, and at the same time, she wanted to know the reason for her own appearance. In order to ensure the success of his plan, your father used the soul vanquishing technique, which was jointly created by the ancient gods and demons. He constantly deprived you of your talent, your potential, your willpower, your understanding, your bloodline, and your cultivation, and merged them into your sister Zhou Mengling's body. This caused your cultivation to progress slowly. It really is the soul vanquishing technique. Hearing Yu Haoran mention the soul vanquishing technique, Huashanyu gnashed her teeth and said to herself. At the same time, a strong murderous intent locked onto Zhou Mengfeng. However, she did not immediately attack Zhou Mengfeng. Instead, she planned to learn more about the alliance between the Zhou clan and the ancient gods through how Yu Haoran dealt with the Zhou sisters. Just to restore the glory of the Middle Ages, he could give up his own daughter's happiness and future, and Yufei was bitterly disappointed by Zhou Yu's actions. She could not understand her father's actions. For a truly ruthless person, family and love are just a part of his plan. If it works for his plan, then family is family and love is love. Thinking back to the few truly ruthless people he had met in his previous life, Yu Haoran could not help but sigh as he thought about how they were willing to give away their wives and daughters in order to gain enough power. Chapter 15:12. Central Region, above the Hidden Dragon Fortress. Alchemy Emperor Yu, what are you doing now? What's my situation now? Although she was bitterly disappointed by her biological father's ruthless actions, they had never truly lived together, and she had never seen Zhou Yu in person. Therefore, Yufei, who had quickly accepted her tragic past, began to ask what she was truly concerned about, which was the changes in her body. Yufei, do you still remember that before we met in Anyang Village, I used the innate divination technique to demonstrate how we met in our past lives? He had spent so much effort to set up the combat star stepping formation to make up for the regrets of his past life, and also to continue their relationship in this life. Therefore, in the face of the arrival of the most important moment, Yu Haoran felt a little nervous and reminded. Of course I remember, and Yufei nodded. Yufei, the reason why I didn't continue to demonstrate how we met in the future was because you, whose fate had not changed in your past life, met with misfortune in the future. Looking back at Qin Lingfei, whose eyes were filled with sadness, Yu Haoran turned to Yufei and continued with an apologetic look. Through the innate divination technique, I knew that I had once made a vow to you when you met with misfortune. If there is a next life, it will definitely change your tragic fate. Therefore, I used the combat star stepping formation to take back everything that originally belonged to you. Seeing Yu Haoran reveal his true feelings, everyone present was filled with envy. Who was Yu Haoran? He was the strongest of the younger generation in the Tianxian continent, the first and only martial emperor in the Tianxian continent who specialized in alchemy and formations. To be able to obtain his vow to protect her through the illusory past life, this was an opportunity that everyone present yearned for. It was also the dream of many women present, although Yu Haoran didn't say it out loud, and Yufei could guess what he was really thinking from his sincere promise. However, in the face of this opportunity that everyone was envious of, and Yufei said apologetically, "Alchemy Emperor Yu, I appreciate your kindness, but I already have someone I like, so I'm sorry. It must be Chu Jichen." In his previous life, it was because of this Chu Jichen that Yufei's blood was splattered all over the world, and she was buried in the Bay Pavilion. Therefore, Yu Haoran gritted his teeth when he heard Yufei say that she already had someone she liked. "Who is Chu Jichen?" And Yufei asked in confusion when she heard Yu Haoran mention the name. She then said with a hint of shyness on her face, "Pill Emperor Yu. His name is Wuma Tianqi. He's a legacy disciple from the Iron Blood sect." Wuma Tianqi. Hearing the name Yufei mentioned, Yu Haoran immediately thought of a burly, ordinary-looking young man. In his previous life, Wu Zhongjun, whose personality was very similar to his own, didn't have many close friends. This guy called Wuma Tianqi was one of the few close friends he had in his previous life. He was also a life and death brother who had always accompanied him on the battlefield. Moreover, Wuma Tianqi was a righteous and kind person. He wasn't the kind of playboy who would fall in love with someone else. However, it was precisely because Yufei liked Wuma Tianqi that Yu Haoran was completely at a loss. At this moment, he didn't know how to face Yufei, let alone how to deal with their relationship. Seeing Yu Haoran at a loss, Thowling in his sea of consciousness suddenly became nervous. After 3 years of contact, experiencing all kinds of opportunities and dangers, Thowling knew that there were very few obstacles that could affect Yu Haoran's state of mind to reach the peak of martial arts. However, there were still 2 demonic obstacles that could cause his martial arts to collapse. The first demonic obstacle was the murderer of his parents. As long as he didn't get rid of the murderer of his parents, the first demonic obstacle in his heart wouldn't disappear. The second demonic obstacle was given to him by this girl named Yufei. If Yufei could accept Yu Haoran's confession when he expressed his feelings, although it might cause some injustice to Qin Lingfei, it could smoothly eliminate the demonic obstacle in his heart. However, Yufei used the fact that she already had someone she liked to reject him. This instead caused the demonic obstacle in Yu Haoran's heart to expand and also increased the danger of his martial arts collapsing. If it weren't for the celestial ending sword, Thowling would rather withdraw the fighting star trampling formation now and not help Yufei, who caused Yu Haoran's Dao heart to collapse. Did he like Yufei? Or had he truly fallen in love with Yufei? As the confused Yu Haoran carefully calculated the life after Yufei and Wuma Tianqi's union, a faint doubt emerged in his heart. He doubted whether he had spent so much effort to help Yufei because he owed her in his previous life, or because he had truly fallen in love with her. If he had truly fallen in love with her, then he should have felt sorrow and despair when he lost the woman he loved. Why was there only a trace of unwillingness in his heart? Could it be that he only liked her because he owed her in his heart, and not because he had truly fallen in love with her? Carefully recalling the despair and confusion he felt after being abandoned by Lin Mengyao in his previous life, Yu Haoran gradually faced his true feelings for Yufei. There was an essential difference between liking and love. He only felt sympathy for Yufei because he owed her in his heart, and then fell in love with Yufei, whose fate was as tragic as his own. It wasn't because he had truly fallen in love with her. As Yu Haoran gradually woke up from his confusion, a feeling suddenly emerged in his heart. He felt as if the world in front of him had suddenly changed. The originally empty void suddenly had many strips of varying thickness, length, and color. Yu Haoran, congratulations on successfully eliminating the greatest evil in your heart. You have reached the realm of seeing through the endless laws of the void. You now have the hope of seeing through the mysteries of life and death, and entering the realm of martial god. Just as Yu Haoran was puzzled by the changes in the world before him, Thaling's surprised and gratified voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Thaling, what's the greatest evil? What's the realm of the endless laws of the void? Yu Haoran asked, puzzled. Yu Haoran, in the future, when you have truly broken through the realm of martial god and become an immortal god, you will know what the greatest evil is and what the realm of the endless laws of the void represents. Thaling didn't answer Yu Haoran's doubts and kept him in suspense with a smile. In response, Yu Haoran, who hadn't felt so depressed in a long time, shrugged helplessly. Chapter 15:13. In the arena of the hidden dragon fortress in the central region. This is, looking at the heart-like flower in front of her, and Yufei's heartstrings were pulled. She immediately had a strong urge to get it. According to the congenital divination technique, when you were buried in the Bay Pavilion of the Poison Source Valley in your previous life, you made a wish to me. Yu Haoran, who had no emotion in his eyes, introduced with a smile. If there's an afterlife, I hope to get a love burial flower. Now, with the help of the fighting formation, I have changed your fate, and you have regained the demonic potential to break through to the Emperor Wu realm. The love burial flower that I got in the past is also in front of you. In the evolution of fate, I have fulfilled the two things that I promised you. Yufei, you and I are best friends now and in the future. After expressing his intention again, Yu Haoran turned around and flew back to the arena with a relaxed expression. He nodded at Qin Lingfei with his eyes full of tenderness, and then reached out to hold the celestial ending sword in Zhou Mengling's hand. Yu Haoran, you stole my foundation and destroyed my hope. I, Zhou Mengling, will fight with you. Seeing Yu Haoran holding the celestial ending sword in her hand and thinking of her miserable future, Zhou Mengling went completely crazy and wanted to self-destruct to die with him. Zhou Mengling, I am saving you. Do you know that? Although the fighting formation could control Zhou Mengling's body and divine thoughts, it could not suppress her mind. Feeling that she was going to use her mind to self-destruct her Dantian and Sea of Consciousness divine soul, Yu Haoran could not help but remind her loudly. You have lost the demonic potential to break through to the Emperor Wu realm and the martial god realm. You have become a vicious woman who relies on devouring her sister's potential. You have lost the celestial ending sword, the family treasure. Not only will you lose your status as a direct descendant of the family, but you will also receive the cruelest punishment from the family. Facing Yu Haoran's reminder, Zhou Mengling, who did not stop the self-destruction of her Dantian and divine soul, asked with a miserable expression, Yu Haoran, you still have the face to say that you're saving me. Fearing that Zhou Mengling would speed up her self-destruction, Yu Haoran did not dare to loosen his grip on the celestial ending sword. With a sincere expression, he quickly explained, Zhou Mengling, if you don't lose your top genius potential, do you know what your future will be like? In the face of Yu Haoran's sincere interrogation, Zhou Mengling suddenly thought of the words he had asked her to pass on to her father. He had mentioned that when she destroyed her life's happiness, she slowed down the speed of her self-detonation and asked, what will my fate be? Zhou Mengling, you will become the cauldron for the ancient god clan Shenxi to raise his cultivation and strength. Yu Haoran roared with a hint of excitement. Don't talk nonsense, you. Mengling will be the only partner of the deity's son. She's not a cauldron to improve his cultivation and strength. Seeing that Yu Haoran was slandering the patriarch's intentions towards Zhou Mengling, the anxious Zhou Chufeng immediately retorted loudly. However, his face instantly turned pale. He immediately realized that his rebuttal had fully confirmed that there was a secret alliance between the Zhou clan and the ancient god clan, as Yu Haoran had said. You guys protect Shout June 1st. Zhou Chufeng's unintentional exposure of the secret made Zhongli Shuiqin's eyes immediately emit a strong, murderous aura. She turned her head to instruct Yusiki and the sword without trace, then flew directly towards Zhou Chufeng. At the same time, The supreme elder of the Yushu Temple and Huashanyu of the Vermilion Bird Clan appeared on both sides of Zhou Chufeng. The three of them stood in a triangular formation, completely sealing off all of Zhou Chufeng's escape routes. Let's fight in the independent space I've created. Whether it was Zhou Chufeng, the patriarch of the Zhou clan, or the supreme elder of the Yushu Temple, they were all almighty experts who were at the level of the three tribulations quasi, Emperor Wu. Zhongli Shuiqin and Huashanyu were even more powerful than the three tribulations quasi, Emperor Wu. If the four of them unleashed their full strength, the entire Hidden Dragon Fortress would probably be destroyed in their battle. Therefore, the seven-color giant dragon that quickly condensed on the ranking board ordered indifferently after shooting out two purple rays from its eyes and enveloping Zhou Chufeng, Zhongli Shuiqin, and the other two. In response, Zhongli Shuiqin, Huashanyu, and the supreme elder of the Yushu Temple nodded in agreement. After the four of them disappeared from the eastern stands, Yu Haoran withdrew his gaze and reminded Zhou Mengling with a cold smile. Zhou Mengling, as an inherited family from the Middle Ages, the Zhou clan should have some records about the ancient god clan. Then, I'm sure you know the nature of the ancient god clan. Whether you want to become the partner of the god's son who dominates the gods, or a cauldron of the god's son who is lured by others, you decide for yourself. Without thinking too much, Zhou Mengling calmed her boiling dantian and sea of consciousness with a pale face, and then looked helplessly at Yu Haoran. After taking the terminating celestial sword from Zhou Mengling's hand and directly sending it into the hands of Victor's Thaling, Yu Haoran raised his head and looked at the five-colored energy light technique that was dimming. He knew that the dueling star treading formation was about to complete the process of stellar transposition. After reminding Thaling, who was immersed in his memories because of the terminating celestial sword, to take back the Linglong chessboard that was integrated into the arena at any time, he looked straight into Zhou Mengling's eyes and comforted her and suggested, Zhou Mengling, even if you lose the top monstrous potential, you still have the potential to break into the realm of Emperor Wu. Either you leave the Zhou clan and become a rogue cultivator, or you find a paradise to live in seclusion. Yu Xiao, thank you very much. Yu Haoran's comfort and suggestion made Zhou Mengling's helpless expression gradually regain some color. After thanking Yu Haoran, she closed her eyes and began to think about her future life choices. 1 minute later, the moment the five-colored energy light beam disappeared, Thaling, who had been ready for a long time, immediately used a special secret method to take back the Linglong chessboard that was integrated into the arena. No one on the scene noticed the slightest abnormality. I admit defeat. After feeling the power controlling her body disappear, Zhou Mengling immediately opened her eyes and looked up at the list to admit defeat. Then, she looked straight into Yu Haoran's eyes and said with a firm expression, Yu Xiao, I've decided to live in seclusion from now on and not participate in any battles in the world. After hearing Zhou Mengling's final choice, Yu Haoran couldn't help but nod his head. Because with the situation she was facing now, whether it was returning to the Zhou clan to receive cruel punishment or becoming a rogue cultivator who came and went alone, it wasn't a very good choice. If she lived in seclusion in the mountains, she could use the time to calm the attention of everyone and disappear the hatred that people had for her. It could also let her state of mind completely calm down. In the future, it wasn't impossible for her to once again have the ability to break into the martial god realm of immortality. Chapter 15-14. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, on the arena. Carefully recalling the various relics and caves that he had explored in his previous life, as well as the famous mountains and rivers that he had traveled to, Yu Haoran finally thought of a good place for Zhou Mengling to live in seclusion. He immediately took out a blank jade slip from the storage ring and used his divine thought to mark the detailed map of the place. Then, he handed the jade slip to Zhou Mengling and said solemnly, Junior Sister Apprentice Zhou, the predicament you are facing now can be said to be caused by me, Yu Haoran. This jade slip contains a little of my sincerity. Consider it as making up for some of my debt to you. Yu Shixiang, don't say that. Facing Yu Haoran's apology, full of guilt, Zhou Mengling quickly waved her hand and shook her head. If senior brother didn't use a special formation to deprive me of the qualifications that didn't belong to me, then my future fate would be 10 times or even 100 times worse than what senior brother said. So, senior brother, you not only don't owe Mengling anything, but Mengling should thank you for saving my life. Zhou Mengling's understanding showed that after experiencing the violent ups and downs of life, she had gradually changed her indifferent and selfish character. And this kind of change in character made Yu Haoran feel gratified, but at the same time, the guilt in his heart was even stronger. Therefore, in addition to choosing a suitable Xanadu for her to live in seclusion, when his alchemy realm was enough to refine higher-grade elixirs in the future, he must help her to realize the reversal of life. After making a decision in his heart, Yu Haoran didn't continue to say anything about the debt and compensation. He just motioned Zhou Mengling to take a look at the information in the jade slip first. Senior brother, this is... Zhou Mengling reached out and took the jade slip handed to her by Yu Haoran. After checking the map marked in the jade slip with her mind, Zhou Mengling asked with surprise in her eyes. Don't ask, just remember it yourself. Yu Haoran nodded and reminded her solemnly. Zhou Mengling nodded heavily and then used her mind to remember the map in the jade slip. She immediately destroyed the jade slip in her hand and looked at Yu Haoran with expectation in her eyes. Senior brother, will you come to see me in the future? Yes. In the future, Yu Haoran still needed to refine pills suitable for Zhou Mengling to break through to a higher realm. Therefore, facing her expectant gaze, Yu Haoran nodded and replied, Senior brother, thank you. Zhou Mengling expressed her gratitude with a hint of sweetness in her heart. With a happy smile on her face, she directly leaped into the air and left the ring. However, she didn't leave the Hidden Dragon Fortress immediately. Instead, she sat cross-legged on an empty ground and used the best pills to make up for the drop in cultivation caused by the loss of potential. Living in seclusion in the mountains and forests meant that she didn't want to be involved in the struggles of the world. It didn't mean that she would give up on her pursuit of martial arts. Although the Fighting Star trampling formation had robbed her of her potential as a top demon, she was still one of the strongest among the younger generation in the Tianxian land. Relying on the trump cards in her hands, she still had the power to make it to the top 10. The top 10 of the 5 regions' Hidden Dragon leaderboard would receive the Hidden Dragon Fate, which would allow her to become a peak 6th grade Martial Honorable when she broke through to the Martial Honorable realm. At the same time, she knew very well that if she wanted to achieve her wish, not only could she not give up her pursuit of martial arts, but she also had to cultivate 10 times or even 100 times harder than before. Looking at Zhou Mengling leaping into the air and leaving the ring, Yu Haoran turned his head and glanced at the place where Zhongli, Shuiqin, and the other 3 disappeared. He found that under the joint attack of the 3 of them, they still couldn't get rid of Zhou Qufeng, the ancestor of the Zhou family. This made him feel a little pressure in his heart. However, as the leaderboard continued to force the contestants onto the ring, Yu Haoran quickly withdrew his gaze and went all out to fight the next match. I admit defeat. Without the slightest hesitation, the contestant ranked 36th on the Eastern Region leaderboard directly admitted defeat the moment his feet touched the ring. I admit defeat. The Demon Cultivator ranked 36th on the Northern Region leaderboard also chose to admit defeat. I admit defeat. In less than 2 minutes, all the contestants below the top 10 on the 5 regions leaderboard directly admitted defeat the moment they stepped onto the ring. This also made the number behind Yu Haoran's name become 416. Glancing at the young man in a Taoist robe from the Eastern region, Yuan Haofei from the Northern region, the bald young man in a golden robe from the Western region, and Huang Fuchuing from the Central region, Yu Haoran's eyes suddenly surged with a strong desire to fight. As long as he defeated the champions of the 4 regions in the next match, then not only would he create a miracle since the creation of the Hidden Dragon Luck Battle, but he would also receive the blessing of the Hidden Dragon Luck beyond imagination. Even more, with the blessing of the hidden dragon luck beyond imagination, he would achieve a transformation of his cultivation base and strength and become a true master who could affect the situation of the Tianxian continent in one fell swoop. The young man in a Taoist robe who was forcibly brought onto the ring by the leaderboard greeted Yu Haoran with a gentle expression. Chu Yunlong, the chief disciple of the Flowing Cloud sect, greets Yu Shixiang. Yu Haoran, the ninth disciple of the Clear Wind and Cloud Peak Master of the 100 Qi Gate, greets senior brother Chu. Yu Haoran also cupped his hands and returned the greeting. The differential treatment towards Chu Yunlong had nothing to do with his cultivation base and strength, and also had nothing to do with his character. It was entirely due to his identity as the champion of the Eastern Region Hidden Dragon ranking. Giving him the basic courtesy was not only out of respect for the Hidden Dragon luck, but also out of respect for himself, the champion of the Southern Region Hidden Dragon ranking. Yu Shixiang, through the previous few thrilling matches, Chu Yunlong knows that I am no match for you, senior brother. Yu Haoran's differential treatment made Chu Yunlong feel a sense of excitement in his heart, and he took the opportunity to speak his thoughts before stepping onto the ring. However, as the champion of the Eastern Region Hidden Dragon ranking, if I take the initiative to admit defeat, it will not only damage the reputation of the entire Eastern region and my sect, but I will also feel unreconciled. But after all, I am an ordinary person with flesh and blood, and I have 7 emotions and 6 desires. I'm not only afraid of losing everything I have now, but also afraid of losing thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years of life in the future. Speaking of this, Chu Yunlong cupped his hands and asked Yu Haoran for help. So, Chu Yunlong is asking senior brother, can you and I decide the winner with one move? In this way, Chu Yunlong can accept his defeat wholeheartedly, and also use my trump card to save my life, and also maintain my position as the champion of the Eastern Region Hidden Dragon ranking. Chapter 15:15. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Leaderboard, Arena. If he could decide the winner with one move, he could save time in the competition and have enough time and energy to adjust his condition so that he could achieve a leap in cultivation and strength with the help of a greater amount of Hidden Dragon luck. However, a promise was just a promise. Whether Chu Yunlong was a man of his word, whether he would abide by the agreement of deciding the winner with one move, and whether he had a trump card to turn defeat into victory, Yu Haoran did not know, so he had to take precautions in advance. Therefore, while agreeing to the other party's request, Yu Haoran fully activated the defense of the ancestral witch's flesh and also mobilized the Rui Bell in his soul to merge with his body. Thank you for your care, senior brother. After getting Yu Haoran's nod of agreement, Chu Yunlong immediately cupped his fist and thanked him gratefully. At the same time, he could not help but feel proud. Didn't you all think that Yu Haoran would be able to smoothly obtain 420 victory in the tag team battle and obtain an unprecedented 420 points? Then I'll use my strategy and trump card to defeat you and let you know who is the leader of the younger generation in Tianxian continent and who is worthy of the support of a great amount of Hidden Dragon luck to turn one's life around. Yu Shixiang, the power of law that I've comprehended is the law of fire of the 5 elemental laws, supplemented by the law of flame of the law of fire. Although he was proud, Chu Yunlong did not look arrogant at all. Instead, he humbly took the initiative to introduce the power of law that he had comprehended and the law martial technique that he planned to use next. So, I plan to use the law martial technique Boundless Sea of Fire created by the law of fire. Senior brother Chu, you've already seen the 4 law martial techniques that I've mastered. Next, I'll decide whether to use Big Bang or Life and Death based on the power of the Boundless Sea of Fire. The more detailed Chu Yunlong's explanation was, the higher Yu Haoran's vigilance was. Therefore, he did not completely limit his means to deal with it, and left himself some leeway. In this regard, Chu Yunlong nodded without a care. Then, he mobilized all of his origin power and soul power into the power of law, and began to use the law martial technique that he was most proud of. Boundless Sea of Fire. Accompanied by Chu Yunlong's roar, a small flame spurted out from between his fingers. The small flame swelled in the wind and soon filled the entire arena, turning it into a sea of fire. This was very much in line with his nomological martial technique's name. Just as the sea of fire filled the entire arena, blocking the attention of everyone present and greatly weakening Yu Haoran's perception, Chu Yunlong immediately took out a special jade box from his storage ring, his eyes revealing a trace of reluctance and unwillingness. However, when he thought of Peng Yinfei defeating and killing Yu Haoran in exchange for getting all the points of 420 consecutive battles in exchange for the terrifying blessing of the hidden dragon luck, the reluctance and unwillingness in his eyes were immediately replaced by determination. Then, he quickly opened the jade box and threw a flame into the sea of fire. Then, he quickly retreated to the edge of the arena and nervously looked at the flame that was exploding with terrifying power. What the hell is Chu doing? Although the law martial technique Boundless Sea of Fire originated from the comprehension of the dual law power of fire, it was limited by Chu Yunlong's shallow understanding of the law of fire and the limitations of his own strength. The power of the law martial technique Boundless Sea of Fire could only be regarded as ordinary. Not to mention using the law martial techniques Big Bang and Life and Death. Even if he used the fist technique and palm technique inherited from the witch ancestor, he could easily penetrate the sea of fire and defeat Chu Yunlong. Just as Yu Haoran really did not understand why Chu Yunlong was so confident that he could rely on the law martial technique Boundless Sea of Fire to determine the outcome of the battle with him in one move, a terrifying power suddenly emerged from the sea of fire that made his heart palpitate. Scorching Sun Crystal. Thaling, who was holding the celestial sword, had been immersed in the memories of the past and did not pay attention to Yu Haoran's next match. However, when an incomparably powerful fire energy suddenly emerged from the sea of fire, he was instantly awakened and immediately used his divine thoughts to check. Then he was extremely shocked and reminded, Yu Haoran, this is the Scorching Sun Crystal, ranked 13th in the Mysterious Flame ranking in the Tianxin continent. It's a terrifying, mysterious flame that can directly kill a powerful expert like Emperor Wu. After hearing Thaling's reminder, Yu Haoran's face instantly became gloomy. Although he had already guessed that Chu Yunlong's request to determine the outcome of the battle with one move must be malicious, he thought that Chu Yunlong at most did not want to lose too badly and damage the reputation of the champion of the Eastern Region Hidden Dragon list. However, what he did not expect was that Chu Yunlong actually intended to use the Scorching Sun Crystal Mystical Flame to take his life. This made Yu Haoran feel deeply regretful, and endless murderous intent immediately emerged from his heart. Yu Haoran, you can't. After the shock, Thaling instinctively wanted to remind Yu Haoran how to deal with the Scorching Sun Crystal Mystical Flame. However, he suddenly remembered that he had to give Yu Haoran a chance to grow independently, so his reminder came to an abrupt end. In this regard, Yu Haoran did not care at all. Because when Thaling pointed out that the terrifying power that suddenly appeared in the sea of fire came from the Scorching Sun Crystal, ranked 13th in the Mysterious Flame ranking, he had already thought of a way to deal with the Scorching Sun Crystal Mystical Flame. That was to use the yin-yang mystical flame origin that could swallow all the mysterious flames in the world floating above the Dantian, leading a trace of the Scorching Sun Crystal Mystical Flame into the Dantian. Without any instructions from Yu Haoran, the yin-yang mystical flame immediately rushed out of the Dantian space. Just as the yin-yang mystical flame origin left the Dantian space, Yu Haoran could clearly feel that the terrifying energy in the sea of fire suddenly withdrew. Bang, bang, bang. Subsequently, in order to prevent the sharp sword chi that erupted from the celestial ending sword from harming the contestants, the defensive barrier that the hidden dragon luck had deliberately set up was immediately attacked violently. Feeling that the Scorching Sun Crystal Mystical Flame wanted to escape, the yin-yang mystical flame that was absorbing the power of the sea of fire to increase its strength and grade immediately abandoned the fire energy, formed by the law martial technique and directly rushed towards the defensive barrier at the top of the arena. Although losing nearly 99% of the fire energy caused the yin-yang mystical flame's grade to drop a lot, its ability to swallow all the mysterious flames in the world allowed the yin-yang mystical flame to not be at a disadvantage in the confrontation with the scorching sun crystal mystical flame. Moreover, the yin-yang mystical flame had a trace of consciousness that had been opened for them before the death of the original body, allowing the yin-yang mystical flame to continuously absorb the fire energy in the sea of fire as it fought with the scorching sun crystal mystical flame. Gradually, the evenly matched situation was broken and the yin-yang mystical flame started to gain the upper hand. Seeing that the yin-yang mystical flame had already tightly wrapped around the scorching sun crystal mystical flame and was absorbing the fire energy in the sea of fire to increase its swallowing power and increasing the speed of refining the scorching sun crystal mystical flame, Yu Haoran secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Chapter 15-16. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, in the arena. Taking a deep breath, Yu Haoran directly mobilized all of his origin energy and soul power into the law of life and death. He was prepared to use the law of life and death to let Chu Yunlong know the consequences of framing him the moment the sea of fire was completely absorbed by the yin-yang heavenly fire. Feeling the terrifying power of the burning sun heavenly fire, Chu Yunlong, who had retreated to the edge of the arena, immediately showed an extremely proud smile. However, as the burning sun heavenly fire suddenly contracted its power and began to crash into the defensive barrier above the arena, the smile on his face was immediately replaced by doubt. As the user of the law of life and death, Chu Yunlong could clearly see everything that happened in the sea of fire. Therefore, when he saw the two small black and white flames that came out of Yu Haoran's abdomen, not only could they absorb the fire energy formed by the law of life and death, but they could also devour the energy of the burning sun heavenly fire. He immediately felt that something was wrong, especially when he saw the two small black and white flames completely enveloping the burning sun heavenly fire. He immediately regretted and wanted to retreat. In order to avoid Yu Haoran's thunderous anger, Chu Yunlong was about to directly admit defeat when the burning sun heavenly fire that was enveloped by the two black and white flames suddenly began to show its power, which made him immediately close his mouth. Seeing that the burning sun flame crystal heavenly fire had already entered the tiger's mouth and was still struggling to escape, the enraged yin-yang heavenly fire instantly attracted all the fire energy in the sea of fire and completely devoured the burning sun flame crystal heavenly fire. Life and death. Just as the yin-yang heavenly fire instantly absorbed the sea of fire energy in the sea of fire, and the entire arena returned to normal, Yu Haoran, who was already prepared, immediately used the law of life and death martial technique. Seeing the burning sun heavenly fire that was suppressed again, Chu Yunlong's eyes revealed a look of disappointment. Just as he was about to open his mouth to admit defeat, he suddenly heard the sound of the law of life and death martial technique, which made his expression change. I admit, without any hesitation, Chu Yunlong immediately raised his head and admitted defeat to the list in the air. However, just as he was about to say the word admit defeat, the law of life and death martial technique's power directly entered his body. The strong impact caused by the instantaneous loss of vitality made him unable to say the word admit defeat. This is just as the sea of fire in the arena was instantly absorbed by the yin-yang deviant fire. Zhongli Shuiqin, who had successfully dealt with Zhou Chufeng, returned to Wu Zhenjun. When she saw the black and white flames above the ring, she felt a vague sense of familiarity. She couldn't help but recall. Yu Xixiang, Cloud Dragon is willing to admit defeat. Please immediately withdraw the power of the law of life and death. Chu Yunlong quickly calmed down the fear in his heart as he thought of the promise they had made before the fight. Taking advantage of the time when his life force was recovering quickly, Chu Yunlong reminded him with a hint of flattery on his face. Chu Yunlong, If you were faced with an opponent who was scheming to take your life, what choice would you make? Ignoring Chu Yunlong's flattering reminder, Yu Haoran asked with a sneer. This, in the face of Yu Haoran's chilling question, Chu Yunlong didn't know how to answer. If he answered that he would eliminate the source of trouble, Yu Haoran would definitely use this as an excuse to refuse to withdraw the power of the law of life and death. If he answered that he would forgive the opponent, he was afraid that he would be ridiculed by Yu Haoran with his sharp words. In the end, he would not be able to escape death. After thinking about it, Chu Yunlong knew that it was impossible to appease Yu Haoran, who was in a violent rage, with a flattering request. So he put away the smile on his face and said indifferently, Yu Haoran, just say it. What kind of treasures and conditions do you want to withdraw the power of the law of life and death in my body? Ignoring the temptation proposed by Chu Yunlong, Yu Haoran replied with a slightly ferocious look. Chu Yunlong, my request is very simple. That is, to completely turn you into a pile of ashes and let the world know how painful the fate of those who dare to deceive and frame me. Yu Haoran, if I, Chu Yunlong, die under the law of life and death, not only will you not get any benefits, but you will also be hunted down by countless top experts of the Flowing Cloud sect. In the face of Yu Haoran's slightly ferocious refusal, Chu Yunlong, who did not panic at all, continued to remind and threaten with an indifferent expression. Yu Haoran, rejecting the request I just made is definitely not a wise choice. Chu Yunlong, perhaps the undeserved reputation of being the strongest of the younger generation in the eastern region for many years has made you too arrogant and self-confident, and become too arrogant. In the face of Chu Yunlong's reminder and threat, Yu Haoran shook his head and sneered, while looking up at the yin-yang strange fire that was about to complete the devouring process. After killing Chu Yunlong, I can get the burning sun crystal strange fire of higher quality and grade. How can I not gain anything? Yu Haoran reached out and waved at the yin-yang strange fire above the arena. When the yin-yang strange fire that had been devoured and turned into the shape of the burning sun crystal strange fire fell into his palm, his eyes were full of surprise. The original black and white flame eventually turned into the pure white burning sun crystal strange fire. The unique attributes of the black and white flame made Zhongli Shuiqin, who had a flash of inspiration, finally recall the origin of the black and white flame. Pointing at the burning sun crystal strange fire in Yu Haoran's palm, Zhongli Shuiqin cried out involuntarily. The yin-yang strange fire ranked 66th in the Tianxin continent, with the power to devour and transform all the strange fires in the world. Zhongli Shuiqin's cry caused everyone present to gasp due to extreme shock. At the same time, it also caused all the experts with strange fires to immediately retract their strange fire aura to avoid attracting the attention of the yin-yang strange fire. Huangfu Chuiying, who was below the arena, had a gloomy expression. Back in the courtyard, when she used a large golden word to challenge Yu Haoran, when Shang Baijian questioned her qualifications to become the champion of the Central Region Hidden Dragon ranking. The reason why Huangfu Chuiying dared to fight back so strongly was because of the strange fire she had refined, which could increase the power of law martial techniques by 10 times. This was also the true reason why she planned to fight Yu Haoran head-on and try to see if she could defeat him. Now, facing the yin-yang strange fire that could devour all the strange fires in the world, without being able to use the special strange fire to increase the power of law martial techniques, she did not have the strength and confidence to fight Yu Haoran head-on. Turning his head to look at Zhongli Shuiqin, who had shouted out the origin of the yin-yang strange fire, Yu Haoran gradually realized that she was very similar to him in some aspects, and that was that there was nothing that she did not know. The reason why he could be omniscient and know everything was because of the rich experience of his previous life and the Victor Thaling that had existed since the beginning of the world. Chapter 15-17 Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, Arena. Yu Haoran retracted his gaze from Zhongli Shuiqin and let the yin-yang heavenly fire that had devoured the scorching sun crystal return to his dantian space. He stared straight at Chu Yunlong, who was withstanding the third rapid loss of life force. and asked with a cold smile. As for whether killing you would offend the Flowing Cloud sect and cause me to be hunted down by countless top experts of the Flowing Cloud sect, Chu Yunlong, do I care when I'm about to receive a huge amount of hidden dragon luck? Facing Yu Haoran's question that ignored the Flowing Cloud sect's threat, Chu Yunlong's face turned pale. Just as Yu Haoran had said earlier, with the talent and potential he had displayed now, coupled with the blessing of a hidden dragon that was several million meters long, his cultivation and strength would most likely be able to influence the situation of the entire Tianxin continent. His status would be comparable to the heavenly demonic sect's sectmaster. At the same time, with the powerful deterrence of the Alchemy Emperor and the Formation Emperor, not only would the sect not send out top experts to avenge him, they would also try their best to distance themselves from him to avoid being implicated by him. Thinking of this, Chu Yunlong knew that if he wanted to keep his life and his wealth for the next thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years, he had to think of a way to save himself. Feeling the life force in his body begin to fade for the sixth time, the threat of death made him finally decide to reveal a shocking secret that he had guarded for almost 3 years, something that even his sect did not know about. Yu Haoran, not only do I know where the tomb of the great god Jin Yuan, who is known as a half-step supreme in the Middle Ages, is, but I also know the exact time when the tomb opens. Because the secret of the great god Jin Yuan's tomb was too shocking and could easily cause a stir in the entire Tianxin continent, Chu Yunlong used the opportunity of the seventh return of life force to secretly request with his divine thought. As long as you're willing to withdraw the power of the law martial technique, then I'll tell you all the secrets I know. Hearing Chu Yunlong's conditions, Yu Haoran's breathing gradually became heavier, and his eyes were filled with excitement. The great god Jin Yuan, also known as the great deity Jin Yuan, was a top expert who had been famous since the Middle Ages. Although he wasn't a Supremes, even Supremes had to give him some face because of the 2 supreme treasures he possessed. If he could obtain the 2 treasures from the grand god Jin Yuan, coupled with the ancestral sorcerer physical body, not only would he possess one of the strongest defensive abilities in the world, but his close friends and family would also have the ability to break through to the martial god realm. Therefore, without any hesitation, just as Yu Haoran was about to agree to Chu Yunlong's request, the thawing in his sea of consciousness suddenly reminded him. Yu Haoran, where is Xinyuanzi's tomb? When will it be opened? What to pay attention to during the process of opening it? What treasures are hidden in the tomb? I know all of these clearly. Thaling, since you knew everything, why didn't you tell me in advance? After hearing Thaling's reminder, Yu Haoran thought of the 2 supreme treasures that the immortal suppression great god possessed and complained unhappily. Yu Haoran, just hearing the news about Xinyuanzi's tomb makes you so agitated. In the face of Yu Haoran's complaint, Thaling immediately criticized him with some displeasure. If I had told you in advance, you would have been able to cultivate and work hard as before, and you would have been able to continue to adhere to your Taoist heart and climb to the peak of martial arts. Thaling's criticism made Yu Haoran calm down quickly. After taking a deep breath, he sincerely apologized to Thaling in his sea of consciousness. Thaling, I'm sorry. I was too agitated just now, causing a flaw in my state of mind. That's why I lost my composure and criticized you. It's okay. Thaling reminded him with a solemn expression while waving his hand to indicate that he didn't care about his complaint. Yu Haoran, the tomb that Xinyuanzi built before he passed away, is located in the Tianshan Mountains in the eastern region. There are still 9 months and 9 days before the tomb is really opened. However, the location and opening time of Xinyuanzi's tomb is not a secret to the top forces in the Tianxin continent. At that time, you may have a head-on conflict with the real Emperor Wu. Therefore, in the 9 months before Xinyuanzi's tomb is opened, you have to find a way to advance to Emperor Wu's realm no matter what. Because only the physical body of an almighty martial emperor expert that has integrated with the power of law can withstand the possession technique that I, a second tribulation demigod, use. Otherwise, I'd rather you give up this heaven-defying opportunity. It seems a little difficult to advance to Emperor Wu's realm in 9 months. Yu Haoran couldn't help but frown when he heard Thaling's condition to enter Zenyuanzi's tomb. Even if he could advance to the peak of 9th grade martial venerable realm with the help of a huge amount of hidden dragon providence, the breakthrough of Emperor Wu's realm required not only the integration of all the laws that he had comprehended into his body, but also a deep understanding of Emperor Wu's realm. More importantly, breaking through to the martial Emperor realm required a certain amount of opportunity. However, Thaling would not allow him to enter Zenyuanzi's tomb if he couldn't break through to Emperor Wu's realm. If he couldn't enter Zenyuanzi's tomb, he wouldn't be able to get the treasures that could help his family and friends advance to the martial god realm in the future. He immediately turned this difficulty into a strong motivation. The integration of the power of law into the body was a very time-consuming process. It could be solved by using Victor's ability to accelerate time. Emperor Wu's realm comprehension required him to fully improve his alchemy skills and pill condensation technique of nothingness, and then refine top elixirs that could help increase his comprehension. As for the opportunity to break through, he should encounter many opportunities in the Blue Moon secret realm where the laws were about to fall into a deep slumber, as well as in the forbidden areas of the Death Swamp and the Endless Forest. Yu Shixiang, have you thought about it? Do you agree to my request or not? Just as Yu Haoran was deep in thought, Chu Yunlong, who was experiencing the rapid loss of his life force for the 9th time, asked in a slightly sobbing voice. Yu Haoran took a deep breath and tried his best to delay until the moment when the law of life and death martial technique truly erupted. He shook his head and refused. Chu Yunlong, not only do I know all the secrets you just mentioned, but I know far more than you do, so I refuse. Yu Haoran's categorical refusal made Chu Yunlong feel despair. At the same time, endless anger surged in his heart. Moreover, he decided to expose the secret of Zenyuanzi's tomb in front of everyone present. This was the only way he could cause trouble for Yu Haoran before he died. However, the sudden feeling of weakness made Chu Yunlong unable to say a word. He could only watch helplessly as his skin withered, his bones weathered, his blood vessels and meridians broke, and his blood and internal organs dried up. Chapter 1518. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, below the arena. Watching Chu Yunlong turn into a small pile of white powder under the effect of the law of life and death, Yuan Haofei from the North Region, the bald golden-robed young man from the West Region, and Huangfu Xiuying from the Central Region all had fearful expressions in their eyes. After all, the process of losing and recovering life force 9 times was too terrifying for a martial artist's mind, especially the tragic end of not even leaving a corpse behind. It was an outcome that no one present could accept. Reaching out and sucking out the storage ring that Chu Yunlong dropped from the white powder, Yu Haoran directly threw it into the victor while instructing Thaling to look for information about Jinyuan Great God's tomb in the ring. Then, he looked at Yuan Haofei below the arena with a hint of warning in his eyes. Unlike the bald, golden-robed young man and Huangfu Xiuying, he had cooperated with his father, Yuan Sangxiong, in alchemy. He really did not know how to treat Yuan Haofei. If he attacked too heavily, regardless of whether the final result was killing or severely injuring Yuan Haofei, Yuan Sangxiong would probably be on guard. If he forcefully restrained his strength and methods, he was worried that he might fail miserably and lose the huge amount of points that he had painstakingly obtained. After all, Yuan Haofei was the champion of the North Region Hidden Dragon ranking competition. His strength was not to be underestimated. Haofei, admit defeat immediately after you get into the arena. As one of the top powerhouses in the Tianxian continent, Yuan Sangxiong could directly kill the white-robed venerable master of the Central Region Hidden Dragon Fortress within the restrictions of the competition rules of the Hidden Dragon ranking competition. Thus, he also had the ability to secretly remind his son with his divine thought. The reason why Yuan Haofei took the initiative to admit defeat was that he had the same concerns as Yu Haoran. He did not want his son's provocation to affect the refinement of the Heaven-Tier Soul Attraction Pill. After hearing his father's secret reminder through divine thought, Yuan Haofei raised his head and glanced at Yuan Sangxiong on the east side of the spectator's stand with a hint of unwillingness in his eyes. However, under the warning of Yuan Sangxiong's fierce gaze and the shock of Chu Yunlong turning into a small pile of white powder, Yuan Haofei, who had just been forcefully brought into the arena by the list, finally admitted defeat helplessly. "I admit defeat." As the champion of the North Region Hidden Dragon ranking competition, Yuan Haofei took the initiative to admit defeat did not cause the crowd at all. It was as if it was natural for him to admit defeat. Just from this point alone, it could be seen how much pressure Yu Haoran's cultivation, strength, methods, and ruthlessness put on the younger generation of the profound Sky Continent. Yu Haoran nodded in satisfaction when he saw Yuan Haofei admit defeat. Then, he turned his gaze to the golden-robed young man. Ba, senior apprentice brother Yu, is still a genius rarely seen in 10,000 years. Wu Dao concede defeat. Although he did not admit of Lin Linus of Lin, he's of course he of. After replying to Wu Dao's compliment, Yu Haoran was about to give his opponent the choice of admitting defeat or death. However, Wu Dao took out a golden invitation card from his wide sleeve that was emitting a golden light. It gave off a thick and solid feeling. "Yu Shixiang, in a year's time, my master will hold a Buddhism and Taoism exchange meeting at the Buddhist sacred land, Spirit Mountain. At that time, all the experts from the top forces in Tianxian continent will come to Spirit Mountain." Wu Dao used his elemental energy to wrap the golden invitation in front of Yu Haoran. While explaining the use of the invitation, he took the initiative to extend the invitation. "I, Wu Dao, represent Spirit Mountain to sincerely invite Yu Shixiang to participate in the Buddhism and Taoism exchange meeting in a year's time and contribute to the Tianxian continent that is about to enter a golden age. Yu Haoran, accept the invitation card." Just as Yu Haoran was staring at the golden invitation card floating in front of him and considering how to reject it, the thawing in his consciousness suddenly reminded him. "Why?" Yu Haoran asked in confusion. Perhaps it was because in the competition with Wu Xing just now, he had witnessed the insidiousness and viciousness of Buddhism and the arrogance and weakness of only knowledge Buddha with his own eyes. Therefore, in Yu Haoran's heart, he had an instinctive dislike of Buddhism and at the same time, a sense of vigilance to keep a respectful distance. "Yu Haoran, the 2 ocean-suppressing pearls that you obtained in the plum blossom forest awakened a trace of my dormant memory. It seems that there are 13 ocean-suppressing pearls hidden in the Buddhist sacred land, Spirit Mountain. If I have nothing to do in a year's time, I will definitely go to the Buddhist sacred land, Spirit Mountain, to participate in the Buddhism and Taoism exchange meeting." Just as Thowling finished his explanation, Yu Haoran directly reached out to take the golden invitation card and promised to leave some leeway for the other party. "Then my master and I will wait for Yu Shixiang's arrival." Wu Dao immediately replied in surprise after receiving Yu Haoran's agreement. Then he raised his head and admitted defeat to the list in midair. "I admit defeat." In the spectator stands Yuan Sangxiong, the Grand Elder of the Yushu Temple, Huashan Yu of the Vermilion Bird Clan, and several other almighty powerhouses who were about to reach the level of Emperor Wu looked at each other and found a trace of sadness and disappointment in each other's eyes. Wu Dao's master, who is also the owner of Spirit Mountain's Buddhism, was not only one of the top powerhouses in the Tianxian continent, but also the Buddha monk who was most likely to reach the level of a spell emperor. Under normal circumstances, the guests who could be personally invited by him to participate in the Buddhism and Taoism exchange meeting on Spirit Mountain were either the leaders of a force or powerhouses who possessed top strength. To be able to have his disciple personally send a golden invitation card, it meant that in the eyes of the owner of Spirit Mountain, Yu Haoran was already a figure who could be on par with powerhouses who had been famous for hundreds of years. However, the other party had only used about 3 years to reach this step. How could this not make Yuan Sangxiong and the others feel extremely disappointed? After watching Wu Dao leave the arena, Yu Haoran's gaze turned directly to Huang Fu Chuying, and a strong fighting spirit immediately emerged in his eyes. Huang Fu Chuying was not only the champion of the Central Region's Hidden Dragon ranking battle, but also the last opponent of the luxurious tag team battle. Now, as long as he could successfully defeat Huang Fu Chuying, then not only would he be able to create a miracle in the Hidden Dragon ranking battle, but he would also be able to completely turn his life around. Yu Xixiang, can we not use the Yinyang Heavenly Fire in our next fight? Huang Fu Chuying, who was forcefully brought into the arena by the list, unwillingly requested. Junior sister Huang Fu, if it weren't for what Chu Yunlong did just now, perhaps I would agree to your request now. But now, in the face of Huang Fu Chuiying's unwillingly request, Yu Haoran, who really did not want to cause any more accidents, did not directly refuse. However, through Chu Yunlong's example, he indirectly showed that he would not show mercy. Chapter 1519. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, Arena. After Yu Haoran indirectly rejected her request to not use the Yinyang Strange Fire, Huang Fu Chuiying had completely lost her trump card and courage to continue the fight. Although she was unwilling to give up just like that, for the sake of her own life and the upcoming ranking competition, she could only admit defeat helplessly in the end. Right after Huang Fu Chuiying admitted defeat, Yu Haoran, who was standing ramrod straight on the arena, suddenly gave off an indifferent aura that seemed to have been washed clean, as if all the troubles in the world could not affect him at all. Life is not about the first meeting. Even if you're young, you'll still be a hero, even if you're ordinary. Zhongli Shuiqin could not help but exclaim as she looked at Yu Haoran, who had created an unprecedented miracle in the Hidden Dragon ranking competition and exuded an immaculate body that had been cleansed of all impurities. Then, she turned her head to remind Wu Jingjun, who had finished his mental cultivation breakthrough and was using a large number of top pills to raise his realm and strength. Xiaojun, if there's anyone among the top experts in the Tianxin continent who has the ability to break through to the martial god realm in a short period of time, I'm afraid it's none other than your Yu Xixiang. If you want to catch up to the Pill Emperor's martial steps and become his strongest aid on his path to the peak of martial arts, then just cultivating diligently is not enough. You must have the courage to cut off all means of retreat and risk your life, as well as an endless stream of training opportunities. At this point, Zhongli Shuiqin took out a jade green leaf from her storage ring and handed it to Wu Jingjun. Xiaojun, this leaf is the only proof to enter my Zhongli family's secret realm, and the secret realm contains the opportunity for you to break through to the Emperor Wu Almighty Realm. Zhongli Shuiqin's eyes were filled with anticipation as she spoke with a hint of pleading in her tone. Therefore, I hope that after the Hidden Dragon ranking competition in the 5 regions ends, you can accompany me to enter the secret realm to train together and break through to the Emperor Wu Almighty Realm that enjoys a long lifespan. Senior Zhongli, can you invite my senior brother to enter the secret realm with us? Wu Zhengjun didn't reach out to take the leaf that Zhongli Shuiqin handed to him. Instead, he asked with the same pleading tone. Little June, the secret realm that belongs to our Zhongli clan is called the Evergreen Secret Realm. It's a special secret that was personally refined by the Evergreen Supreme Ancestor during the Middle Ages. The secret realm contains a powerful opportunity that can help you break through Emperor Wu's realm. Therefore, the family is very strict with the origin and number of people who can enter the secret realm. The leaf that I'm giving you now is actually the most precious treasure among the 9 dowries that the family gave me when I married into the vermilion bird family of the 4 great guardian families. The purpose was to obtain the last remaining drop of the vermilion bird divine beast blood essence. Although Zhongli Shuiqin didn't explicitly reject Wu Zhongjuan's request, she indirectly rejected Yu Haoran's request to enter the secret realm by explaining the importance of the Evergreen Secret Realm and the difficulty of entering it. However, Zhongli Shuiqin was afraid that Wu Jingjun would be angry with her because of this or refuse to accept the opportunity to enter the Evergreen Secret Realm, so she continued to remind him. Little June, With the talent and means that Elixir Emperor Yu has displayed, it won't be difficult for him to break through to the Emperor Wu Almighty Realm. Perhaps the opportunity in the Evergreen Secret Realm won't be useful to him. Instead, it might affect his own luck. After hearing Zhongli Shuiqin's explanation and reminder, Wu Zhengjun finally reached out to take the leaf after thinking for a short while. It was considered that he had agreed to Zhongli Shuiqin's request. Wu Zhengjun's final choice also made Zhongli Shuiqin secretly heave a sigh of relief. At the same time, a happy smile appeared on her face. The unsullied body. Seeing that Yu Haoran, who had gone through the baptism of more than 400 battles, actually possessed the unsullied body after being cleansed of all the impurities in the world for a short period of time, Thaling was pleasantly surprised and couldn't help but sigh with envy. Thaling, what's the unsullied body? Yu Haoran asked in confusion as he experienced his special state. Yu Haoran, the so-called unsullied body, also refers to being pure and unsullied. It's a special cultivation state that was proposed by the Buddhists in the Middle Ages. Thaling explained in detail as she hinted to Yu Haoran how he could clearly feel the uniqueness of the unsullied body. According to the Buddhists, unsullied body is free of doubts. Without doubts, there's no dust. On the other hand, unsullied body and emptiness are special states that allow one to rapidly increase their realm. The only difference is that the state of emptiness is used to improve one's cultivation and laws, while the state of unsullied body is used to improve one's state of mind. Speaking of this, Thaling looked up at the list in midair and found that the list was preparing for the next match, so she quickly reminded Yu Haoran. Yu Haoran, after leaving the arena, don't say anything and don't think about anything. Immediately use the strange state of unsullied body and try to directly impact the state of mind of Emperor Wu. Thaling, I got it. While feeling the increase of unsullied body state of mind, Yu Haoran responded to Thaling's reminder. As if sensing that Yu Haoran was experiencing the transformation of the opportunity, the list condensed by the Hidden Dragon luck did not delay too much time. Only 3 seconds later, the list directly expelled him from the arena and then ordered Peng Yinfei, whose heart was like dead ashes, to prepare for the knockout and ranking matches. Don't stick your neck out in everything. Act according to your ability. After returning to Qin Lingfei and the others, Yu Haoran gave a short reminder and then directly sat down cross-legged on the spot. Then, using the strange state of unsullied body, he began to use all his strength to improve his state of mind. According to the normal competition rules, there would be a total of 2 rounds in the 5 regions Hidden Dragon leaderboard competition. The first round of the competition was an elimination round. According to the number of contestants, they would be divided into groups. Then, the top 20 or 25 contestants in each group would be chosen. Due to the number of contestants who had died at the hands of Yu Haoran in the luxurious wheel battle, the final elimination round barely had 4 groups of contestants. Perhaps because of the Hidden Dragon luck's deliberate care, the strongest contestants, Yu Siki and Qin Lingfei, were in the same group. The Sword Without Trace, who had a sword formation and a top-grade Emperor-level sword, was in the same group as Kong Yung-ah, who had Wind-tailed Fox. Wu Zhengjun, who had just used the secret technique of tenderness to transform his state of mind, realm, and strength, was in the same group. Chapter 1520. In the central square of the Hidden Dragon Fortress in the Central Region. The second round of the Hidden Dragon list of the 5 regions was a ranking competition. The rules were exactly the same as the final competition of each region. Under the care of the Hidden Dragon luck, Yu Siki, Qin Lingfei, the Sword Without Trace, Kong Yung-ah, and Wu Zhengjun's opponents at the beginning were all ranked at the bottom of each region's rankings. This allowed them to win dozens of matches in a row. At the same time, Yu Siki and the other 3 relied on their powerful strength to severely injure all the competitors who could threaten Qin Lingfei. They also used their divine thoughts to force them to secretly agree to unfair agreements. This also allowed Qin Lingfei, like Yu Siki and the other 3, to win dozens of matches in a row. At the same time, The points behind their names quickly exceeded 50 points. However, halfway through the competition, Yusiki and the other three's opponents were all ranked at the top of each region's rankings. They had to be careful in every match. For the time being, they did not have time to take care of Qin Fei, making every match very difficult for her. Phew! When 3/4 of the competition had been completed, Yu Haoran, who was sitting cross-legged in front of the arena, exhaled a long breath of turbid air that had accumulated in his chest and slowly opened his eyes. Yu Haoran, how's it going? Faling, who was paying attention to the progress of Qin Fei and the other three's matches and Yu Haoran's breakthrough, immediately asked nervously when he saw Yu Haoran wake up from the dustless state. Yu Haoran shook his head with disappointment in his eyes and replied, "The limit of the peak of 9th grade Martial Venerable. I'm still one step away from breaking through the cultivation realm of Emperor Wu." Yu Haoran, don't worry. I think the reason why you can't break through to the Emperor Wu's cultivation realm is because your current cultivation is too low and you don't understand the changes in Emperor Wu's cultivation realm. Hearing the unwillingness in Yu Haoran's voice, Faling, who was also a little disappointed, had to immediately adjust his emotions and comfort him. Perhaps when your cultivation reaches the peak of Martial Venerable, your cultivation realm will naturally break through to the Emperor Wu's cultivation realm. I hope so, Yu Haoran, who was still a little unconvinced, replied. Then he stood up and began to pay attention to the matches of Yusiki and Qin Fei and the others. It took him nearly a day and a night to improve his mental state cultivation using the state of immaculate and dustless. After a day and night, 4/5 of the ranking matches were completed. At this moment, there were only 8 contestants who were still undefeated. They were Yusiki, Wu Zhengjun, the Sword Without Trace, Kong Yung-ah, Huang Fuqing, Xia Tianqi, Ji Wenlong, and Yuan Haofei. As for Qin Fei, she had already lost 13 matches. She would definitely not be able to enter the top 10 in the ranking. However, as the matches were coming to an end, the 8 contestants who were still undefeated could not avoid fighting each other. Kid, seeing that your Pill Emperor Yu's junior brother, I'll give you a chance to admit defeat. Otherwise, if I accidentally injure you, I won't be able to explain it to Pill Emperor Yu. After winning 92 times, the arrogance in Yuan Haofei's bones flashed again. When facing his opponent in the 93rd match, Wu Zhengjun, he was extremely arrogant and conceited. Blood Devour and Soul Devour. Wu Zhengjun's reply to Yuan Haofei's warning was very simple. He used his bloodthirsty physique and devouring technique to slash at Yuan Haofei's chest. Damn it! Yuan Haofei cursed when he sensed that the blood-red saber chi formed by Wu Zhengjun's saber technique had reached the peak of a 6th grade martial honorable. Immediately after, he activated his middle grade honorable realm defensive magic weapon and waved the supreme grade honorable realm black sword in his hand to quickly form a black dragon. One was using his self-created saber technique, while the other was hastily attacking with his sword. It was easy to imagine the outcome of the battle between the blood-red saber chi and the black dragon. The black dragon did not even last for a 1/10 of a second before it was slashed in half by the blood-red saber chi. Then, the blood-red saber chi continued to slash at Yuan Haofei. Heavenly Demon Transformation. A middle-grade honorable realm defensive magic weapon could only defend against the attack of a 3rd grade to 6th grade martial honorable. The blood-red saber chi that had slashed the black dragon was not weakened at all. This meant that it could exceed the defensive limit of the defensive magic weapon. Yuan Haofei did not have time to use a more powerful sword technique to defend himself. He could only use the Heavenly Demon Sect's secret technique to increase his defense. Blood-devouring earth. He could clearly sense that Yuan Haofei's defense was increasing rapidly. It was no longer something that could be broken by the saber technique that he had just used. Therefore, Wu Zhengjun did not hesitate at all. He immediately integrated his complete realm speed technique into the supreme grade honorable realm saber technique and quickly slashed out his 2nd saber technique. Boom! With the help of his middle grade honorable realm defensive magic weapon and the heavenly demon sect's secret technique. Yuan Haofei finally managed to block the blood-red saber qi formed by the blood-devouring and soul-devouring saber technique. Boom! However, just as he was about to let out a sigh of relief and regroup to attack again, the second blood-red saber qi that was at the peak of his 7th grade martial honorable realm landed heavily on his chest. Puffed, puffed, puffed. In an instant, the heavenly demon sect's secret technique and the middle grade honorable realm saber technique's defense were destroyed. The powerful blood-red saber qi caused Yuan Haofei to stumble a dozen steps back. He spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood, and his face turned pale. Wu Zhengjun did not press the attack after the 2 saber techniques had easily injured Yuan Haofei. Instead, he raised the blood-red saber in his hand and reminded Yuan Haofei coldly, "Seeing that your father is close to my senior brother, I'll let you go this time. Admit defeat immediately." Although he was not seriously injured by the blood saber qi, when he thought of Wu Zhengjun's 2nd saber martial skill, which had reached the level of a peak 7th grade martial honorable, he knew that he was no match for Wu Zhengjun, not to mention that he was already injured. Therefore, without any hesitation, Yuan Haofei immediately raised his head and admitted defeat to the list in the air. "I admit defeat. Senior sister Yu. Thank you for showing mercy just now." Tianqi humbly admits defeat. Just as Wu Zhengjun easily defeated Yuan Haofei, Xia Tianqi, who was in the other arena, reached out to wipe away a drop of blood from his forehead. Although he still had lingering fear, he quickly cupped his fists and thanked Yusiki. Yusiki raised the lower Emperor Realm sword in her hand and threatened him coldly. "I was merciful just now because of Little Ran. If you still don't know your limits, I won't show you any mercy in the next attack." Xia Tianqi could feel the murderous intent in Yusiki's threatening tone. He could not help but shudder. He quickly raised his head and admitted defeat to the list in the air. Chapter 1521. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, Central Square. "Bitch, how dare you injure the young master of the heavenly palace of my hollow Jade Temple? You must be tired of living." Just as Xia Tianqi admitted defeat, Ji Wenlong's exasperated voice rang out from an arena not far from where they were fighting. At this moment, the blue robe in front of Ji Wenlong's chest had been cut open by the sharp sword qi, and bright red blood flowed out like a stream. "Ji Wenlong, if it weren't for the fact that killing you would bring endless trouble to junior brother you in the future, I would have cut you in half." The sword without trace, who usually didn't get angry easily, was enraged by Ji Wenlong's insults. She clenched the sword in her hand and threatened him with a frosty expression. "Bitch, the only reason why you were able to injure me with your sword technique was because of the sword you're holding." Ignoring the sword without trace's threat, Ji Wenlong continued his insults and began to use his greatest trump card. "Do you really think that I, Ji Wenlong, as the young master of the Hollow Jade Temple, don't have a trump card that can block a sword of supreme quality? Traceless, kill him for me," Yu Haoran demanded fiercely as he stepped out of the arena. "Junior brother Yu, what should we do about the Hollow Jade Palace's revenge?" Jian Wuhan asked worriedly with hesitation in his eyes. "Traceless, given the enmity between me and the Yushu Temple, even if you let Ji Wenlong go in the end, our enmity will not be resolved. We will still fight to the death." Yu Haoran could empathize with the sword without trace's concern, but at the same time, he looked at Ji Wenlong with murderous eyes. "If we kill Ji Wenlong now, we might be able to affect the state of mind of the Jade Void Temple's master of the Heavenly Palace and prevent him from successfully advancing to the almighty martial Emperor Realm. This would also allow this mainland to continue to maintain peace for a period of time." "All right, I'll listen to you." After hearing Yu Haoran's explanation and reminder, the sword without trace glared murderously at Ji Wenlong and watched him take out a sword of his own. Affected by the sword without trace's murderous aura, the sword in her hand suddenly exploded with a dazzling purple light. In a flash of dazzling purple light, a young girl with stunning beauty slowly walked out of the sword. This is the Amethyst Sword Emperor, the one who created the Amethyst Sword 200,000 years ago and broke through the restrictions of the heavenly Tao and forcefully broke through to the level of Emperor Wu. Zhongli Shuiqin, who had returned to the spectator stand, couldn't help but cry out in shock when she saw the peerless girl walk out of the sword with a purple light under her feet. Could this be the Amethyst Sword Emperor who had hopes of advancing to the martial god realm, but was ultimately defeated by the shackles of fate? Since the Amethyst Sword Emperor had been famous for a long time and had not left behind many earth-shattering deeds, most of the martial artists present did not know who the Amethyst Sword Emperor was. Only Hua Shanyu from the Guardian family murmured to herself with a look of reminiscence in her eyes. That's right. Zhongli Shuiqin nodded in confirmation when she heard Hua Shanyu muttering to herself. Her eyes flashed with a hint of mockery. Hua Shanyu, if the Amethyst Sword Emperor had not been at the critical juncture of advancing to the martial god realm and the four patriarchs of the Guardian family had not intervened, the Amethyst Sword Emperor would have become the first sword god of the Tianxian continent. The Amethyst Sword Emperor's terrifying swordsmanship would have been enough to severely damage the heavenly Tao, which was incomplete, and allow the entire Tianxian continent to enter an environment where martial arts flourished. The patriarchs have their own considerations. It's not something a junior like me can comment on. In the face of Zhongli Shuiqin's mockery, Hua Shanyu's face darkened, and she rebutted without any confidence. Zhongli Shuiqin only smiled indifferently and did not continue to mock her. The cultivation of a martial artist is about advancing courageously without fear of any dangers. You're too soft-hearted. The Amethyst Sword Emperor, who had slowly landed in front of the sword without trace, had a gratified look in his eyes. However, there was also a hint of dissatisfaction in his eyes as he criticized. Senior, in the face of the Amethyst Sword Emperor's criticism, the flustered the sword without trace immediately opened his mouth to explain, but he did not know how to do so. Since you've been recognized by my natal sword, it means that you're qualified to become my disciple. The Amethyst Sword Emperor could not help but remind the sword without trace, who was still unaware of his opportunity. The Amethyst Sword Emperor has decided to accept you as his disciple. Hurry up and kneel down to thank him. The Amethyst Sword Emperor's reminder was so obvious, yet the sword without trace was still unaware of his opportunity. Yu Haoran, who was below the arena, could not help but remind him. After hearing Yu Haoran's reminder, the Amethyst Sword Emperor turned his head to look at him below the arena. His heart, which had been as calm as still water, was immediately filled with shock. The Son of Destiny, the initiator of the great tribulation of heaven and earth, is also the terminator of it. Your disciple, the sword without trace, pays his respects to Master. Just as the Amethyst Sword Emperor was completely stunned by Yu Haoran's special identity, the sword without trace, who had been reminded by Yu Haoran, hurriedly knelt down to pay his respects. The Amethyst Sword Emperor forcefully suppressed his shock and did not immediately accept the sword without trace as his disciple. Instead, he pointed at Ji Wanlong, who had also taken out a supreme-grade Emperor Greatsword. I, the Amethyst Jade, have always been arrogant. Whether it's the guardian clans of the four primordial divine beasts or the top geniuses who know their sins, none of them are worthy of my attention. Therefore, if you want to become my disciple, you must show me a satisfactory performance. Kill him, and I'll immediately accept you as my disciple. I'll also impart to you my true cultivation mantras and martial arts techniques, as well as my lifetime of comprehension. Regardless of whether it was Yu Haoran's explanation or the Amethyst Sword Emperor's test, they all meant that he had to kill Ji Wanlong, who had humiliated him. Therefore, the sword without trace stood up and took out the sword formation Yu Haoran had given him, as well as his supreme-grade Emperor-grade weapon. Damned remnant soul, how dare you use the life of my heavenly palace's young master as a test? I don't think there's any need for your remnant soul to continue existing. The Amethyst Sword Emperor's request infuriated Ji Wanlong, as he could take the sword without trace as his disciple. At the same time, he couldn't help but want to kill the Amethyst Sword Emperor's remnant soul. The sword is born from the heart, and the sword is born from the heart. Chapter 1522. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, in the Arena. Bauhinia Bloom. With the sword without trace's soft shout, the purple sword radiance from the sword in her hand quickly condensed into countless beautiful Bauhinia flowers, turning the entire arena into a sea of flowers in an instant. Heavenly Master descends, looking at the countless Bauhinia flowers slowly sprinkling towards him. Ji Wenlong used the elixir he had secretly taken just now to directly display the sword technique created by the master of the Heavenly Palace at the cost of overdrawing his yuan qi and soul power. The sword technique and sword qi quickly condensed into a young man who looked to be about 17 or 18 years old. The young man looked down at the countless Bauhinia flowers covering the arena with a tender look in his eyes. He slowly reached out his jade-like hand and slowly patted the countless Bauhinia flowers. It seems that Brother Ji has reached the realm of returning to one's natural state. I'm still no match for him now. Looking at the young man condensed from Ji Wenlong's sword technique and sword qi, Yuan Sanqiong's eyes showed a trace of frustration, and then he sighed to himself. When a young man's jade-like hand slowly patted the arena, countless Bauhinia flowers were instantly shattered, and Ji Wenlong, who was completely surrounded by Bauhinia flowers, showed an arrogant and proud smile on his face. However, before the arrogant and proud smile could fully bloom, the terrifying sword formation formed by 9,999 swords directly enveloped the young man in mid-air, forcing him to withdraw his jade-like hand that was about to hit the arena. The countless Bauhinia flowers threatened by the young man began to shrink rapidly, and soon Ji Wenlong was surrounded by countless Bauhinia flowers. Damn the formation! At the same time, the young man, who was surrounded by the sword formation, let out an unwilling roar and was completely twisted into the purest energy by the sword formation. Seeing the incarnation of the master of the Heavenly Palace destroyed in the sword formation, and Ji Wenlong, who was surrounded by countless Bauhinia flowers, whose aura was faintly discernible, the face of the great elder of the Yushu Temple instantly became gloomy. He looked at Yu Haoran and the sword without trace with undisguised murderous intent in his eyes. In response, Yu Haoran was not afraid at all. He reached out his hand in front of his neck to provoke him. Not bad. Jian Wuhan had killed Ji Wenlong with his inherited sword art, and the exquisite sword formation had killed the incarnation of the master of the Heavenly Palace. The Amethyst Sword Emperor had finally calmed down after seeing Jian Wuhan's careful attacks. He nodded with satisfaction. Wu Hen greets master. The sword without trace immediately got down on his knees and kowtowed when the Redbud Sword Emperor praised him. Good. Apart from the fact that she was somewhat indecisive, Jian Wuhan did not lose out to her in terms of talent, potential, or obsession and pursuit of swordsmanship when she was young. Furthermore, from how the sword without trace treated Yu Haoran just now, she knew that her disciple the sword without trace had a special relationship with the Chosen One. This would not only increase her luck and opportunities, but also give her hope of reaching a higher realm. Therefore, the Redbud Sword Emperor could not help but say good 3 times in a row when she received a disciple who would definitely surpass her in the future when her remnant soul was about to collapse. Then, she extended her jade-like finger and gently tapped the sword without trace's forehead. She imparted all of her life's cultivation insights, cultivation mantras, and martial techniques to the sword without trace without holding back. While imparting her legacy to the sword without trace, the Redbud Sword Emperor bowed to Yu Haoran through her divine consciousness. Redbud Jade greets the Chosen One. Senior, are you talking to me? It was not strange for the Redbud Sword Emperor's voice to appear in his mind. However, what really puzzled Yu Haoran was the way she addressed him. Redbud Jade, if you still want to be reincarnated after the great tribulation of heaven and earth, then immediately think of a way to eliminate the influence that the title Chosen One has on Yu Haoran. With the strength of a peak First Tribulation demigod, Thaling's divine consciousness could clearly hear every word that Redbud Jade said through her divine consciousness. Although he did not know how the Redbud Sword Emperor could tell that Yuhaurin was the Chosen One, Thaling's expression changed when he thought of the impact that the Chosen One would have on Yuhaurin. He could not help but threaten Yuhaurin with a murderous aura. Otherwise, I will use the Victor's time travel ability to go back in time 200,000 years ago. Then, I will forcibly extract your divine consciousness and make you suffer a fate worse than death. Lord Violet's spirit. As soon as the Tower Spirit's threatening voice finished resounding through the air, a string of information regarding the Tower Spirit's origins inexplicably surged into her mind, causing Zi Jingyu to cry out involuntarily in terror. Fortunately, as someone who had the strength to break through to the martial god realm, Zi Jingyu's strong mental state made her realize that she could not expose Thaling's existence. Therefore, she had only cried out through her divine consciousness. Redbud Jade, the matter of fate is too important. With Yuhaurin's current cultivation and strength, it is not suitable for him to know his identity as the Chosen One for the time being. Although Yuhaurin was also puzzled that Redbud Jade knew what he was called in ancient times, he was eager to eliminate the doubts in his heart. He could only temporarily suppress his thoughts of asking an order with a stern expression. Therefore, immediately think of a way to cover up the information that you just revealed. Lord Violet's spirit, please don't worry. I know what to do. As long as she could eliminate Yuhaurin's doubts about the Chosen One, he could be reincarnated after the tribulation of heaven and earth and have a chance to regain the memory of his previous life. The information that Thaling had just revealed made Redbud Jade very excited. She hurriedly made a promise. Isn't the man that my disciple likes the Chosen One for her feelings? Redbud Jade tried to explain in a calm tone. In the face of Redbud Jade's explanation, Yuhaurin suddenly did not know how to answer. Although he had just experienced the transformation of an Yufei's feelings and could face every girl who liked him, Yuhaurin was at a loss whether he could accept their feelings in the end. Redbud Jade, who had experienced countless ups and downs in life, could see at a glance that Yuhaurin was indecisive when it came to feelings. She also knew that he was not mentally prepared to accept Wu Hen's feelings now. In this regard, she did not intervene or persuade too much. After all, feelings between men and women were the most complicated and sentimental. She did not want her only disciple to suffer emotional pain in the future because of her intervention. Young man, when I finish passing on my mantle, this remnant soul will completely disappear with the wind. I want to ask you for a favor. Chapter 1523. In the arena of the Hidden Dragon Fortress in the Central Region. Young man, Wu Hen's temperament is too indecisive. She will definitely suffer in this aspect in the future. I hope that on account of Wu Hen's deep feelings for you, you can help her in time when she is in danger. Zi Jingyu pleaded sincerely. Senior, Traceless is the most important person in my life, Yuhaurin. I will definitely not let anything happen to her. The Purple Thorn Sword Emperor's request was exactly what he had been doing. Yuhaurin, who had a good impression of the Purple Thorn Sword Emperor, immediately promised. If the immortals and gods want to hurt her in the future, I will slaughter them and devour them. If the heavens and earth want to hurt her in the future, I will shatter the heavens and earth. After receiving Yuhaurin's promise, the Purple Thorn Jade was very pleased and thanked him. Young man, thank you. Purple Thorn Jade, if there is no deviation in fate in the future, I, Supreme Violet Spirit, will personally escort you into the 6 paths of reincarnation and help you escape death as soon as possible so that you can become an immortal deity. Seeing that the Purple Thorn Jade had easily resolved Yuhaurin's doubts about the Destiny's Child, Thaling was very satisfied and made his promise. Thank you, Supreme Violet Spirit. The Purple Thorn Jade was very emotional and grateful after receiving Thaling's promise. Thaling gestured for the Purple Thorn Jade to be at ease. After she gradually calmed down, he prepared to ask her the two questions that had emerged in his heart. How had the purple thorn jade been able to tell that Yuhaoran was the Destiny's child at a glance? How had she known his Taoist name in ancient times? Unfortunately, just as he was about to use his divine consciousness to interrogate her, the purple thorn jade's remnant consciousness, which had ended the inheritance, disappeared with the wind. Just as the purple thorn jade's remnant consciousness disappeared with the wind, the sword without trace immediately opened his eyes and quickly got up. Then he knelt down and kowtowed 3 times. Tears of sorrow and reluctance flowed out of his eyes. Looking at the sword without trace being sent off the stage, Yuhaoran was still unable to control the sadness and reluctance in his heart. Even Yuhaoran did not know how to console him. Finally, under Qin Lingfei's reminder, he walked to the sword without trace's side and pulled her into his embrace, gently patting her shoulder. Ever since the sword without trace first expressed her feelings for Yuhaoran before the start of the luxury wheel battle, everyone present knew that she was a woman disguised as a man. Therefore, when they saw the two of them hugging each other tightly, the crowd was not surprised at all, nor did they feel uncomfortable at all. Alas, looking at Yuhaoran hugging the sword without trace tightly, Bali could not help but let out a long sigh. Her eyes were filled with regret and self-blame. 420 rounds of tag team battles. The contestants were all the most outstanding, exceptional, and monstrous geniuses of the 5 regions. Anyone with a normal mind would know the final result of this luxurious tag team battle. However, no one would have thought that not only did Yuhaoran obtain victory in the 420 matches, he had also used the powerful deterrence he had displayed to bring benefits to his family and friends. At the same time, the points he had obtained from the 420 matches allowed him to obtain an unprecedented amount of hidden dragon fortune. It was enough for him to become one of the top experts in the Tianxian continent in a short period of time. If she had not stopped Yu Ling's pursuit of Yuhaoran back in the Hengduan mountain range's secret realm, would the Bai clan have been able to obtain his blessing? If Yuhaoran had taken more care of the Bai clan after he became one of the top experts in the Tianxian continent, would the Bai clan have been able to walk out of the harsh environment of the White Rhinoceros mountain range and have the hope of becoming a clan with a legacy in the future? In contrast to Bai Li's current regret, Yu Ling, who had originally been a little reluctant to part with Yuhaoran, was now able to completely let go of it. This was because Yuhaoran was too outstanding and perfect. He was no longer someone that a disciple of the small Bai clan like her could come into contact with or desire. It was far better for her to let go and pursue the happiness that truly belonged to her. Sister Fangling, I'm tired. Looking at Yuhaoran, who was tightly hugging the sword without trace, a trace of envy flashed through Hiruyu's eyes. It was as if her spirit had been instantly sucked away as she spoke to Shi Fangling weakly. Being able to sense that Hiruyu was planning to give up on the idea of winning back Yuhaoran's affection, Shi Fangling was surprised, but she could also understand her thoughts. After all, Yuhaoran was too outstanding and perfect. Only girls like the sword without trace and Qin Lingfei had the right to accompany him as he climbed to the peak of the martial way, accompanying him through the endless years of life and death. It was because she understood Hiruyu's thoughts that Shi Fangling did not try to persuade or encourage her too much. She only held her hand tightly, giving her mental comfort and support. Junior brother Yu, can you let go of me first? Although being tightly hugged by Yuhaoran allowed the sword without trace to temporarily forget the sadness and reluctance to part with her master's remnant will, she was too thin-skinned and was not used to being so intimate with the person she loved in public. Letting go of the sword without Trace's arms, Yuhaoran giggled a little embarrassedly. He quickly looked at the other rings to avoid the awkwardness between him and the sword without trace. However, when he saw the 2 huge green tails of wind-tailed fox being easily cut off by Huangfu, Xiuying's flaming sword, his heart could not help but sink. Yuhaoran, no wonder that girl wanted to use the agreed method to not let you use the yin-yang flame that can restrain all flame. The tower spirit, who had also sensed the intense fire energy fluctuation, temporarily put away the depression of the purple-spiked jade's remnant soul, and carefully observed the fire sword in Huangfu Xiuying's hand. Then it spoke with a sudden realization. So she controls the Red Lotus Sin Fire that is ranked 6th in the Tianxian continent. Red Lotus Sin Fire. Originally, Yu Haoran already felt that the situation was not good when Wind-Tailed Fox's 2 huge green tails were easily cut off by the flaming sword. At this moment, after hearing Thaling's reminder, he felt a trace of pity for his family and friends. This was because if he did not use the yin-yang flame that could restrain the Red Lotus Sin Fire, even he did not have 100% confidence that he could withstand the Red Lotus Sin Fire that was ranked 6th. Wind-Tailed Fox, whose 2 huge green tails were easily cut off by the opponent, immediately had a look of intense fear in its eyes. It immediately retracted the remaining 6 huge green tails and quickly returned to Kong Yung-ah's shoulder. Wind-Tailed Fox then squeaked in her ear to explain and remind her. Chapter 1524. In the central square of the hidden dragon fortress in the central region, looking at Kong Yung-ah who had left the ring, her eyes were still filled with unwillingness as she cursed Huangfu, chewing softly. Yu Haoran had no choice but to step forward to comfort her. However, before that, he reminded the sword without trace. Wuhan, if you encounter Huangfu chewing in the next round, you can either defeat her with lightning speed or admit defeat. Don't fight with her fire sword. Junior brother Yu, I got it. The sword without trace, who was also shocked by the power of Huangfu Chewing's fire sword, nodded. Here, Xiaofeng. He walked quickly to Kong Yung-ah and quickly took out 2 top healing pills from his storage ring. He tossed them to Wine Foxtail, who was on Kong Yung-ah's shoulder. All right, don't be angry. Although she was no longer cursing Kong Yung-ah softly, her undulating chest showed that she was still furious. Yu Haoran advised her with a smile. Jingya, let alone Xiaofeng, even if I were to face Huangfu Chewing's fire sword now, my chances of winning would only be 50-50. Just how powerful was Yu Haoran? Not only had the 420 rounds of the luxurious tag team battle been completely revealed, but Huangfu Chewing had also taken the initiative to admit defeat as soon as he stepped onto the arena. Therefore, she was very puzzled by Yu Haoran's fear of Huangfu Chewing's fire sword. That's because the fire sword in her hand was condensed from the Red Lotus Inn fire that's ranked 6th on the exceptional fire ranking, Yu Haoran said honestly. No wonder the fire sword could easily sever Xiaofeng's green tail that's comparable to a supreme-grade venerable stage magic weapon. So it's all thanks to the Red Lotus Sin Fire. Kong Yung-ah turned her head to look at Huangfu Chewing, who was standing in the ring. At the same time, a look of disdain appeared in her eyes as she came to a sudden realization. In response, Yu Haoran could only shake his head with a bitter smile and did not continue to persuade him. Although the Red Lotus in Fire was still in its infancy stage and would not harm those who wanted to get close to it, it was not easy to successfully refine the terrifying energy contained in the Red Lotus in Fire. Just from this point alone, it could be seen that not only did Huangfu Chewing possess a top monstrous talent, but she was also a person with a rather tenacious will. Her future success was definitely not limited. The match between Kong Yung-ah and Kong Yung-ah was the last match of the 6th last round of the qualifier. Therefore, just as Yu Haoran was comforting Kong Yung-ah, the 5th last round of the qualifier immediately began. Among the friends and family that Yu Haoran cared about, Yusiki's opponent was Yuan Haofei. The sword without trace's opponent was Xia Qianqi. Wu Zhengjuan's opponent was Huangfu Chewing, and Qin Lingfei's opponent was Go Sun, who was ranked 17th on the Central Region leaderboard. As Ji Wenlong had died to the sword without trace's inherited sword technique, Kong Yung-ah was very lucky to have a bye, which also gave Wind-Tailed Fox more time to heal. Relying on the powerful defensive power of the 9-star alignment, the extreme cold attack power of the profound Yin Soul Fire, and 1,000 medicine liquid that could instantly recover origin energy and soul power, Qin Lingfei barely won the match after nearly 10 minutes and dozens of moves. One move, With just one move, the emotionless sword technique inherited from the Great Oblivion mantra, Yuan Haofei was blasted back and vomited blood. In the end, he had no choice but to sullenly admit defeat. The sword without trace, who was gradually becoming more and more unyielding, was able to form his own exquisite sword formation and complement it with the Amethyst Sword Emperor's inherited sword technique. Similarly, he repelled Xia Tianqi with one move and forced him to admit defeat. Only the match between Wu Jingjun and Huang Fuqing could be described as an intense fight between evenly matched opponents. When Wu Jingjun saw that the 5-blade techniques he created were all easily shattered by the fire sword in Huang Fuqing's hand, he realized that the fire sword in Huang Fuqing's hand was extraordinary. Relying on his recently improved state of mind and his bloodthirsty physique, he took the risk and performed a blood martial skill he inherited when he cultivated the devouring grand art to its limit. Boundless Blood Sea. With a roar, Wu Jingjun turned into a sea of blood that filled the entire arena. Then, using the sea of blood to shield him from sight and divine sense, he began to take the risk to absorb the energy in the fire sword with the devouring mantra. Perhaps Wu Jingjun was lucky, or perhaps it was a coincidence, but not only did the Red Lotus send fire, which could burn everything, not harm him at all, but with the help of the strange fire energy, his physical body grade and Yuan Qi realm rose at a terrifying speed, as if they were sitting on a rocket. In just 5 minutes, his physical body grade, which had been raised to early 5th grade Martial Venerable with the help of elixirs, was raised to peak 7th grade Martial Venerable. His Yuan Qi realm also reached early 7th grade Martial Venerable. Sensing the rapid loss of the fire energy in the fire sword wrapped in the blood sea, Huang Fuqing panicked and immediately withdrew the Red Lotus Sinfire. However, in the face of Wu Jingjun, whose strength had increased by leaps and bounds, Huang Fuqing, who had lost his strongest technique, could only last less than 3 moves before he had to admit defeat. It was the 5th last round of the qualifying round. Qin Lingfei's opponent was Lai Fenshin, who was ranked 6th on the North Region leaderboard and called himself the Fire Demon. Relying on the powerful and ferocious inherited demonic fist technique, Lai Fenshin only used 3 moves to break the powerful defense of the 9-star Pearl, forcing Qin Lingfei to admit defeat. Fortunately, Lai Fenshin, who was wary of Yu Haoran, controlled the power of his punches very well. When he broke the defense of the 9-star Pearl, he did not hurt Qin Lingfei. This made Yu Haoran, who was below the ring, let out a long sigh of relief. Yusiki's opponent in this round was Huang Fuqing. Yusiki, who had been secretly warned by Yu Haoran, did not give Huang Fuqing a chance to use the Red Lotus Sinfire. Using the Emperor Realm lower grade sword in a swift and fierce, emotionless sword technique, she directly blasted Huang Fuqing out of the ring and easily won the match. Wu Jingjun, who was still lucky, had the opportunity to rest in this round. Kong Yunga's opponent in this round was Xia Tianqi. Due to the fact that Wind-Tailed Fox's injuries had not fully recovered, after a few probing moves, Kong Yunga decisively chose to admit defeat. This made Yu Haoran nod his head in satisfaction. The sword without trace's opponent in this round was Yuan Haofei. Again, the combination of the sword formation and the Emperor Realm upper grade sword, as well as the Amethyst Sword Emperor's inherited sword technique, forced Yuan Haofei to admit defeat rather gloomily. Round after round of competition, round after round of slaughter. With Yusiki's tough command, Wu Jingjun had no choice but to admit defeat. The 5 regions Hidden Dragon ranking competition officially came to an end. Chapter 1525. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, Central Square. As the dazzling rainbow light above the central square began to shrink, the final rankings of the 5 regions' Hidden Dragon rankings were gradually revealed. In the 5 regions' Hidden Dragon rankings, only Ji Wenlong had died. Therefore, the Hidden Dragon Providence was first revealed to Tang Hyaming from the Southern Region's Tang clan, who was ranked 99th on the list. Although Tang Hyaming had long known that he would definitely be ranked last in the ranking list since he had not won a single match in the ranking list, the moment he saw the ranking list for himself, his expression instantly turned rather ugly. A trace of the thought of leaving the southern region emerged in his heart. This was because he was ranked 19th in the southern region's Hidden Dragon rankings. But in the 5 regions' Hidden Dragon rankings, he was at the bottom. It wasn't that his talent wasn't outstanding enough, nor was it that he didn't cultivate hard enough. It had nothing to do with the mental cultivation method and martial technique that he cultivated. The reason was that the cultivation environment of the southern region was far inferior to the other 4 regions. However, no one present noticed Tang Hyaming's ugly expression because everyone's attention was focused on the rankings that continued to be revealed. The contestant ranked 98th on the list was also a monstrous genius from the southern region, Chung Yuanheng, who was ranked 18th on the list. Chung Yuanheng's expression was also very ugly, and like Tang Hyaming, he had the thought of leaving the southern region. The contestant ranked 97th on the list was a disciple of a top rogue cultivator from the western region. The contestant ranked 96th on the list was a core disciple from the eastern region's Jin clan. The contestant ranked 95th on the list was also a local monstrous genius from the southern region. He also had the thought of leaving the southern region and moving to the central region. 21st. Seeing that Qin Lingfei's final ranking was 21st, Yu Haoran's face revealed a joyful smile. Originally, according to the strength that Qin Lingfei could display, and then combined with the outstanding performance of the contestants in the various regions, he thought that Qin Lingfei would at most be ranked 80th to 90th on the list. Fortunately, the Hidden Dragon Providence's deliberate care and the great help of Yusiki and the other 3 allowed her to achieve unexpectedly good results. On the other hand, Emperor Qin and Meng Zhengkai, who were in the stands of the Southern Mountain Range, were also smiling happily. After all, as a direct descendant of the Emperor Qin, the higher Qin Lingfei's ranking was, the more the Hidden Dragon Providence would return to the Emperor Qin Kingdom, and the greater the potential of the Qin Kingdom. 18. Yu Haoran heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that the 18th contestant on the list was Zhou Lingmeng, who had lost her top-notch talent potential and the celestial ending sword. With the Hidden Dragon luck that Zhou Mengling obtained when she ranked 2nd in the Hidden Dragon rank competition in the Central Region, and then multiplied it by 82 points, the amount of Hidden Dragon luck she obtained was enough for her to maintain the speed of her cultivation and strength improvement. In that case, he was preparing to refine a batch of top-notch pills that could assist in breaking through cultivation and strength. Zhou Mengling would be able to use them very soon. Similar to the habit of revealing the final rankings in each region, the audience was not interested in the contestants who were ranked at the bottom of the Hidden Dragon luck list, nor did it cause any commotion. When the Hidden Dragon luck list was about to reveal the contestant ranked 10th, the audience was suddenly very interested. Wang Chuantao. After seeing the name of the contestant ranked 10th on the list, the audience was puzzled because this name was too unfamiliar to them. In fact, even Yu Haoran, who had 2 direct encounters with Wang Chuantao, had a look of confusion in his eyes, not to mention the people present. Wang Chuanao was the black-clothed young man who had defeated Wu Jingjun when he challenged the 9th courtyard in the Hidden Dragon Fortress in the southern region. However, with the strength that Wang Chuantao had displayed at that time, and his 9th ranking in the Hidden Dragon rank competition in the southern region, it would be very difficult for him to rank in the top 30, not to mention the 10th place in the Hidden Dragon rank competition in the 5 regions. Otherwise, by Dong Sheng, Yuan Lixing, and Xia Gufengze, who were ranked ahead of him, would not be ranked in the top 30. If he had used the blessing of the Hidden Dragon fortune to cultivate in seclusion, his cultivation base and strength had improved by leaps and bounds. However, this kind of leaps and bounds improvement was too shocking. Perhaps it had sensed the doubts in the hearts of the audience, or perhaps it was because the contestant ranked 10th on the list. The Hidden Dragon luck list did not continue to reveal the list in a hurry, giving the audience time to observe and discuss Wang Chuantao. In terms of appearance and temperament, Wang Chuantao was just an ordinary young man. He was neither arrogant nor disrespectful like Yuan Haofei, nor arrogant like Huang Fuchuing, nor indifferent and arrogant like Wu Jingjun and Yu Siki, nor sharp temperament like Yu Haoran. He was completely an ordinary person who would be forgotten in the blink of an eye. Little brother, what is your relationship with householder Qing Lian from the Penglai Immortal Island in the East Sea? The focus of the audience was on Wang Chuantao's cultivation and temperament. As for the knowledgeable Zhongli Shuiqin, her focus was on the storage ring on his finger that was carved with a ninth-grade lotus flower, which gave people a feeling of returning to simplicity. When she carefully recalled the information about the storage ring, she suddenly remembered that when she was young, a householder Qing Lian, who claimed to be from the Penglai Immortal Island, came to visit her when she was reading books about the secrets of the continent in her father's study. After that, her father's evaluation of householder Qing Lian was only one word: unfathomable. On the finger of that householder Qing Lian, he was also wearing a storage ring carved with a ninth-grade lotus flower. Thaling, who could not see through Wang Chuantao's background, immediately realized that he had overlooked something when he heard Zhongli Shuiqin mention householder Qing Lian. Then he immediately used a special secret technique to observe Wang Chuantao again. In the end, an expression of not knowing whether to laugh or cry appeared on his face. This old tortoise is so bored that he sealed his memories and cultivation to fight for the opportunities that belong to the younger generation of disciples in the Tianxian continent. Thaling, is the householder Qing Lian that Miss Shuiqin mentioned the same householder Qing Lian that I met in Xinying City? Yu Haoran, who had also been reminded of his past by Zhongli Shuiqin's questioning, could not help but ask. In the past, due to the influence of his own cultivation and strength, he had always thought that the householder Qing Lian he met in Xinying City was only a knowledgeable martial saint expert. Chapter 1526. In the central square of the Hidden Dragon Fortress in the central region. It seems so. The origin of the old tortoise was too shocking. Not only did he have the terrifying strength to shake the rules of the way of heaven, but he also had a certain connection with destiny and luck. For the time being, she didn't want Yu Haoran to come into contact with the Thaling of destiny so early, so she could only answer vaguely. Senior, I've never heard of householder Qing Lian, so I have nothing to do with him. After hearing Zhongli Shuiqin's question, Wang Chuantao frowned and tried to recall for a while. Then, he shook his head and denied having anything to do with householder Qing Lian. Is that so? Although Wang Chuantao didn't seem to be lying, Zhongli Shuiqin still felt that there was a special relationship between him and householder Qing Lian. Perhaps it felt that it had given enough time, so the hidden dragon luck continued to reveal the rankings. However, in Yu Haoran's sea of consciousness, Thaling had a teasing look in its eyes. Although I don't know what a cunning old tortoise like you is trying to do, I, supreme purple spirit, like to tease you for some reason. Old tortoise, I'm looking forward to seeing your true appearance. How can you continue to use the name of householder Qing Lian to swindle people in the future? With the idea of teasing Wang Chuantao, Thaling began to secretly use a secret method. It was ready to directly remove the secret method sealing Wang Chuantao's body the moment the hidden dragon luck reward was given, so that he would reveal his true appearance on the continent. Yu Haoran, who didn't notice Thaling's abnormality, continued to pay attention to the rankings that were slowly being revealed. The contestant ranked 9th on the rankings was Wu Dao from Spirit Mountain in the Western region. As the champion of the Hidden Dragon ranking in the Western region, he was only ranked 9th in the final. When he saw his name appear on the rankings, even Wu Dao, who had a good mental state cultivation, had a look of deep disappointment in his eyes. As Wu Dao was a monstrous genius who had become famous very early on and was also the disciple of the Lord Buddha of Spirit Mountain, most of the experts present had heard of him. Therefore, the Hidden Dragon luck didn't give Wang Chuantao the same treatment. After only 3 seconds, it revealed the contestant ranked 8th on the rankings. Kang Yung-ah. After seeing that Kang Yung-ah was ranked 8th, Yu Haoran could not help but sigh. Originally, As the wind-tailed fox continued to devour the ancestral blood essence in the eight-tailed green fox's blood, it continued to unlock the nine-tailed celestial fox's bloodline inheritance in its body, causing its strength to reach a peak. Other than Yusiki, Wu Jingjun, the sword without trace, and Huang Fu Chuing, who had special skills, the rest of the players were no match for wind-tailed fox. However, Wind-tailed Fox was severely injured by Huang Fu Chuing, who possessed the Red Lotus Sinfire. In the end, he was defeated by Yuan Haofei and Xia Tianqi. However, compared to Yu Haoren's disappointment, Kang Yong'an, who was a little careless, was very satisfied with her ranking. With a happy smile on her face, she began to discuss with Wind-tailed Fox how to use the huge amount of hidden dragon providence to cultivate. It was just like how it treated Wang Chuantao, who was not famous. Facing Kang Yong'an, who was also not famous, the hidden dragon providence also gave the people present time to adapt and discuss. Although they knew that Kang Yong'an and Yu Haoren had a close relationship, the people present did not know her true background. Therefore, using the time given by the hidden dragon providence, the people present began to ask around. After learning that Kang Yong'an and Yu Haoren were from the same sect, the people present could understand why she was so monstrous. At the same time, they were also interested in the 100 Qi gate that she was from. Sensing that it was about time for the people present to discuss, the hidden dragon providence continued to reveal the rankings. Yuan Haofei. When he saw that he was ranked 8th, Yuan Haofei hurriedly used the corner of his eyes to secretly observe his father, who was in the stands. After all, before the 5 regions Hidden Dragon leaderboard competition officially began, Yuan Sangxiong had given him a death order. If he could not enter the top 10 in the final rankings, not only would he not be able to return to the heavenly demonic sect, but he would also not be able to set foot in the North region. This request was undoubtedly the most fatal and cruel punishment for a demonic cultivator who cultivated a pure demonic cultivation method. No one knew a son better than his father, and no one knew a daughter better than her mother. On the other hand, the children who were related to them by blood were also the ones who understood their temperament the best. Therefore, when he saw his father nodding slowly with a rather calm expression in his eyes, Yuan Haofei finally heaved a sigh of relief. As the only son of the heavenly demonic sect master and the most powerful person in the younger generation of the demonic cultivators, Yuan Haofei's reputation was not inferior to Wu Dao's at all. Therefore, the hidden dragon providence only paused for 3 seconds before revealing the 6th contestant on the leaderboard. Xia Tianqi. Although his ranking was 2 places lower than his expected ranking, Xia Tianqi was quite satisfied with his final ranking when he thought of the monstrous geniuses Yu Haoren, Yusiki, the sword without trace, and Wu Jingjun appearing in this year's 5 regions Hidden Dragon leaderboard competition. As a direct descendant of the Xia clan, Xia Tianqi's reputation was not inferior to Yuan Haofei and Wu Dao's at all. Therefore, after pausing for 3 seconds, the hidden dragon providence continued to reveal the 5th contestant on the leaderboard, Huang Fu Xiuying. Although Huang Fu Xiuying already knew her final ranking based on the number of times she lost in the ranking competition, her face turned as cold as ice the moment she saw her final ranking. On the other hand, the countless experts from the Central region had solemn and disappointed expressions on their faces. Since the beginning of the 5 regions Hidden Dragon leaderboard competition, the champion, 2nd, and 3rd place of every 5 regions Hidden Dragon leaderboard competition were all contestants from the Central region. Even when the Southern region's environment was at its peak, Gu Yang Dingtian, who had almost succeeded in breaking through to Emperor Wu's realm, was only ranked 4th in the leaderboard in the end. But this time, the champion of the Central region Hidden Dragon leaderboard competition was only ranked 5th in the leaderboard. Did this mean that the Central region's providence was beginning to decline from prosperity and that the future of the world would shift to the Southern region? After all, among the top 10 contestants on the leaderboard, 5 of them were monstrous geniuses from the Southern region. The Hidden Dragon providence did not give Huang Fu Xiuying preferential treatment just because of the countless experts from the Central region. 3 seconds later, it continued to reveal the fourth contestant on the leaderboard, the sword without trace. Chapter 1527. Central Region, Hidden Dragon Fortress, Central Square. With the help of his exquisite sword array, the Redbud Sword Emperor's supreme grade Great Emperor artifact and legacy, Jian Wuhan now had the strength to challenge Yu Haoran head-on. However, when faced with Yusiki's powerful order and Wu Zhengjuan's initiative, she took the initiative to admit defeat. How could the people who liked her not feel sorry for her? Thank you, Without Trace. The sword without trace, who also knew that she had the strength to challenge Yusiki and Wu Zhengjun, had taken the initiative to admit defeat because of him. Therefore, Yu Haoran, who was grateful, subconsciously held her hand tightly and thanked her. Seeing Yu Haoran's hand holding the sword without Trace's hand, Qin Lingfei, who was standing behind Yu Haoran, did not show any dissatisfaction. Instead, she smiled happily. Junior brother you don't have to thank me. I'm no match for big sister and Jingjun. Feeling the warmth from Yu Haoran's thick hand, the sword without trace felt extremely embarrassed. Her voice was as soft as a mosquito's. Qin Lingfei, who could not stand the sword without trace's consideration for others, immediately snatched her from Yu Haoran's hand and began to teach her some methods and lessons in a low voice. Facing the sword without trace, who was also not well known, the hidden dragon blessing also treated her well. While the people present felt sorry for her, they also began to inquire about her background. After learning that the sword without trace was also from the same sect as Yu Haoran, the people present became more interested in the second-rate sect, the 100 Chi Gate. The hidden dragon blessing felt the same way and continued to reveal the third contestant on the list, Wu Zhengjun. Although it's only the third place in the finals, it's enough to make those old guys in the family speechless. When she raised her head to look at Wu Zhengjuan's name on the list, Zhongli Shuiqin clenched her fists and muttered to herself in surprise. Zhengjuan not bad. Yu Haoran praised happily as he patted Wu Zhengjuan's shoulder. Yu Haoran had Lu Yuan, who had the dark sword physique, and Wu Zhengjun, whose cultivation speed was not inferior to his own. Yu Haoran was instantly filled with confidence in his future battle to reach the peak of martial arts. Thank you, Senior. Wu Zhengjun looked forward to being praised by his senior brother personally, especially when his senior brother was happy. This was also an important reason why he had been cultivating so hard. In the face of Wu Zhengjun, who was as unknown as Kong Yung-ah and the sword without trace, and who was also the third place on the list, the hidden dragon blessing gave the people present a full minute to adapt and discuss. When they learned that Wu Zhengjun, Kong Yung-ah, and the sword without trace were also disciples of the 100 Chi Gate, the people present were not only interested in the 100 Chi Gate, but also had an impulse to immediately go to the southern 100 Chi Gate. They wanted to see what kind of strange sect could cultivate so many geniuses with the potential of a hidden dragon. After a minute, the hidden dragon blessing continued to reveal the second place on the list. Yusiki. When the hidden dragon blessing revealed the rankings of Wu Zhengjun and the sword without trace, the people present exclaimed and praised them. However, when Yusiki's second place was revealed, the people present booed her. They booed not because Yusiki was not strong enough. She was able to defeat Huang Fuchuing, Xia Tianqi, and Yuan Haofei consecutively with just one sword technique, which was enough to prove her terrifying strength. However, when she faced Wu Zhengjun and the sword without trace, her overly cold, ruthless, and domineering orders caused the people present to be disgusted. Faced with the boos from the people present, Yusiki, who was emitting a more and more ruthless aura, did not care at all. She closed her eyes and continued to cultivate the supreme Oblivion mantra. Sigh. Seeing that his sister's ruthlessness was getting higher and higher, and that she was becoming more and more indifferent to the 7 emotions and 6 desires, Yu Haoran could not help but sigh. If the supreme Oblivion mantra reached the Oblivion mantra, the people present would probably be like ants in her eyes. Putting away the complicated emotions in his heart, he looked directly at the west side of the stands and looked at the Snow Palace's Grand Elder. At this moment, not only was Yu Haoran's attention focused on Snow Palace's Elder Shu, but the people present were also looking at her. After all, when Yu Haoran was competing with the Snow Palace's core disciple, Bing Xuanyu, he had already exposed the fact that Yusiki was a disciple of the Snow Palace. Thinking of how Yusiki had announced in front of everyone that she had officially severed her ties with the Snow Palace, the people present were very curious to know how Elder Shu would react after losing such a monstrous disciple with such extraordinary talent. Looking at Yusiki, whose eyes were tightly shut, Elder Shu's eyes revealed a look of regret, mixed with a hint of shock. This was because the sword technique Yusiki had used in the ranking competition, as well as the cold and ruthless aura she was currently emitting, was very similar to that of a senior recorded in the Snow Palace. Moreover, that senior could be said to be the strongest disciple in the Snow Palace's history. His cultivation and strength far surpassed that of the Snow Palace's founder. Thinking of the description of that senior in the Snow Palace's forbidden grounds, Elder Shu's shock eventually turned into regret. Just as she was about to open her mouth and beg Yusiki to return to the Snow Palace, the sudden announcement of the rankings forced her to forcefully suppress the words that were already at the tip of her tongue. Yu Haoran, after seeing the Hidden Dragon Fortune announce the champion of the 5 regions Hidden Dragon ranking competition, not only were the spectators in the stand silent, but even the contestants on the square and the 30-odd venerables from the Hidden Dragon Fortress were not surprised at all. After all, Yu Haoran's continuous stunning performances in the 420 rounds of the competition had already made everyone completely numb. Compared to the overly quiet reactions of the crowd, Yu Haoran's heart gradually heated up when he saw his final ranking. It was not because he was the champion of the 5 regions Hidden Dragon ranking, but because of the eye-catching number of 420. 420 times 10,000 meters of the Rainbow Dragon. Then the length of the Hidden Dragon Fortune he would obtain in the end would exceed 4 million meters. With the support of the Hidden Dragon Fortune over 4 million meters and the mental cultivation of a peak 9th grade Martial Venerable, then when he broke through to the Martial Venerable realm, which stage would he reach in the end? Would it be peak 7th grade Martial Venerable, peak 8th grade Martial Venerable, or peak 9th grade Martial Venerable? Chapter 1528. On the square of the Hidden Dragon Fortress in the Central Region, the gigantic 7-color dragon looked down at the 99 contestants who had obtained the points of the ranking competition on the square. Its mountain-like dragon eyes revealed a gaze as cold as the heavenly Tao. It was as if all living things were ants in its eyes. Yu Haoran looked at the cold gaze in the huge dragon's eyes. It was very similar to the heavenly Tao that viewed all living things as dogs. A sudden chill caused the boiling blood in Yu Haoran's body to instantly cool down. Then, doubts emerged in his heart, and he could not help but ask for help from Thaling in his sea of consciousness. Thaling, why do I feel that the 7-colored dragon condensed from the Hidden Dragon Blessing in the Hidden Dragon Fortress in the southern region is very different from this 7-colored dragon in front of us? Yu Haoran, your feeling is not wrong, Thaling said with a serious expression while nodding to confirm Yu Haoran's guess. Because the 7-color dragon in front of us is about to enter the transformation process of being reborn. It may become a more powerful existence, or it may become an eternal and indestructible law between heaven and earth. If we were to make the most obvious comparison between the two, then the 7-colored dragon condensed from the Hidden Dragon Blessing in the southern region is a teenager. Now, it has entered the peak state of a middle-aged man. Pagoda Spirit, I'll have to trouble you to use a special secret technique to enter the void domain and see if there are any changes to the Hidden Dragon Fortune. Then, check if there are any accidents with the Sword Dao Fortune. Thaling had mentioned the life characteristics of the Hidden Dragon Blessing in his explanation. Then, combined with the preferential treatment the Hidden Dragon Blessing had given him and the special care it gave to the people around him during the 5 regions Hidden Dragon ranking competition, Yu Haoran suddenly had a bold guess in his heart. However, whether this bold guess was accurate or not would have to be verified by the changes in the two types of karmas in the virtual zone. Okay, seeing that the 7-color dragon was giving out the hidden dragon luck in the same order as in the hidden dragon fortress in the southern region, and that it would take some time for Wang Chuantao and Yu Haoran's turn, the pagoda spirit nodded in response. Then, it used a special secret technique to sneak into the void domain. 3 minutes later, Faling, who had returned to the sea of consciousness, said with eyes full of doubt and shock, Yu Haoran, something has indeed happened to the hidden dragon fortune and sword Dao fortune in the void domain. Faling, explain the situation to me in detail. Faling's shocked reply made Yu Haoran's heart clench. His tone carried a hint of urgency as he asked. The main body of the hidden dragon providence is already close to the state of nothingness, which means that it has already entered the process of transformation. As for what it will eventually evolve into, I still don't know. Sensing the urgency in Yu Haoran's questioning tone, Faling immediately explained without delay, and the sword Dao fortune seems to have suffered an unimaginable damage. Not only has its main body shrunk by 1/3, but it also gives me a feeling of decline. Senior brother Liu, Yu Haoran, will remember your kindness forever. After receiving Faling's introduction, Yu Haoran immediately turned to look in the direction of the Sky Sword sect, his eyes full of gratitude as he promised to himself. Yu Haoran, could it be that Lu Yuan secretly killed the Earth Sword and the Human Sword of the Sky Sword sect during the Hidden Dragon ranking competition? Yu Haoran's inexplicable promise and the substantial decline of the Sword Dao Fortune's main body in a short period of time made Faling immediately guess the cause of the matter. He was extremely shocked as he guessed. That's right. While nodding to confirm Faling's guess, Yu Haoran felt both gratified and guilty. If it weren't for the Earth Sword and the Human Sword that bear the Sword Dao Fortune, as the Sword Dao Fortune that has existed since ancient times, how could it have lost 1/3 of its fortune in such a short period of time? If it weren't for senior brother Liu, who had a close relationship with me, who killed the Earth Sword and the Human Sword, then why would the Hidden Dragon Fortune, which is like a law, give me an opportunity that could change my fate? And why would it purposely take care of Ling, Fei, and the others during the competition? Yu Haoran, Lu Yuan is in big trouble this time. Yu Haoran's explanation was very reasonable, making Faling believe that the reason for the change in the Sword Dao Fortune was because of Lu Yuan. But thinking that Lu Yuan was the dark sword that represented the Sword Dao Fortune, regardless of whether he killed the Earth Sword and the Human Sword in secret or openly, he would definitely suffer an unimaginable backlash from the Sword Dao Fortune. Thus, Faling couldn't help but remind him. It's fine. Shaking his head to indicate that Faling didn't need to worry, Yu Haoran said confidently. As long as my Alchemy Dao realm can advance to the peak of the Alchemy Emperor realm and the Nihility Pill condensation technique can enter the second level, then I can try to refine a kind of pill that can separate the providence, enough to eliminate the backlash of the Sword Dao providence that senior brother Liu suffered. Hearing Yu Haoran mention a pill that could separate fortune from qi, Faling suddenly thought of a pill created by a pill god expert in ancient times and hurriedly asked, could it be the stage 2 level 9 Void Yuan Realm Void pill? That's right, it is the stage 2 level 9 Void Yuan Realm Void pill. Yu Haoran confirmed with a nod. Yu Haoran, how confident are you that you can successfully refine it? Faling asked agitatedly after receiving Yu Haoran's confirmation. Faling, if you are willing to cooperate, then the final success rate of refining the Void Yuan Realm Void pill can reach 70%. After careful consideration, Yu Haoran replied cautiously. Yu Haoran, what do you mean? Faling frowned slightly and asked in confusion. Faling, since you have heard of the stage 2 level 9 Void Yuan Realm Void pill, then you must know the effects of the Void Yuan Realm Void pill. Yu Haoran didn't explain in a hurry and asked. The Void Essence Domain Void pill was created by an Alchemy Dao Alchemy God expert in the recent ancient times. It's a kind of pill that is specially used to improve the martial Dao domain. It can expand the range of a domain and increase the grade of the domain. According to the information learned in ancient times, Thowling roughly introduced the effects of the Void Yuan Realm Void Pill. Thowling, what is a realm? Yu Haoran continued to ask. A realm is a special independent space created by a warrior when he cultivates a certain kind of martial arts to the extreme. The independent space has its own dharma, and the warrior, at this point, Thowling suddenly realized something. Not only did he immediately stop talking about the realm, but he also questioned with a pale face. Yu Haoran, are you trying to use the power of the law of space contained in my body, Victor? That's right. Chapter 1529. In the square of the Hidden Dragon Fortress in the Central Region, there were a total of 5 elemental crystals of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, 1 scorching fire crystal, 1 profound ice crystal, 3 drops of blood essence from a beast at the peak of the 9th level of the Venerable Realm, and 1 space crystal as the main ingredient. After listening to Yu Haoran's detailed introduction of the 9 special medicinal ingredients required to refine the Void Origin Realm Pill, the pagoda spirit was once again shocked by the myriad of changes in the art of alchemy. The trace of displeasure that emerged in its heart dissipated. After all, in Yu Haoran's experience and knowledge, a crystal stone that contained space energy was undoubtedly a supreme artifact to him. He had only heard of it, but had never seen it before. Therefore, Thowling's expression eased a lot, and he said confidently, Yu Haoran, you don't have to continue to think about my real body, Victor, because I will give you 20 space crystals that contain pure space energy before you refine the Void Realm Elixir. Really? Hearing Thowling's promise, Yu Haoran asked in disbelief. In his previous life, under the guidance of the Empty Spirit Mouse, he had explored countless relics and dangerous places in the ancient times, middle times, and recent times. He had deliberately searched for the whereabouts of the space crystal, with the purpose of using it to refine a special elixir similar to the escape talisman. However, not only did he find nothing, but he also did not find any trace of the space crystal. He even suspected that the space crystal did not exist in the Tianxian continent anymore. It's more real than real gold. Nodding to confirm, Thowling explained with a smile. Yu Haoran, actually, according to my original plan, I wanted to wait for you to obtain the Void Fruit that can help you comprehend the power of law, and then help you find the space crystal stone that contains space energy. I hope that you can comprehend the power of law of space with the help of it. Thowling, thank you. Seeing that Thowling had thought of everything for him, Yu Haoran, who had not been touched for a long time, thanked him with a hint of gratitude. That's enough. You don't have to be so polite with me. Thowling pretended to be displeased, waved his hand, and then reminded him. Since you need the space crystal stone to refine the Void Realm Elixir in advance, you and I have to go to a valley at the border of the East Region and the Central Region immediately after the 5 regions' Hidden Dragon ranking competition. Because at the core of the valley, there are spatial crystals that can satisfy your needs for alchemy and cultivation. There aren't many of them. Thowling, I'll listen to your arrangements. There is still more than 2 months before the promised time for him to snatch the Void Fruit from the Scarlet Loaf. Before that, if he could obtain a certain number of spatial crystals, he would be able to comprehend the power of the laws of space as soon as possible. This was because he had a very strong feeling in his heart. He felt that when the heavenly Tao, which had perfected its laws, entered a state of deep sleep after the 5 regions' Hidden Dragon rankings, not only would the environment of the entire world completely enter a period of prosperity, but the great calamity of the world would also begin. Even the primordial god clan, which had disappeared for nearly 2 centuries, might return. With the grudge between him and the primordial god clan that descended upon the profound sky continent would most likely use him as a sacrifice, and the power of the spatial laws would be an important means for him to protect his life. While Yu Haoran and Thowling were discussing, it was Wang Chuantao's turn to receive the Hidden Dragon Providence. The 9th place of the Southern Region Hidden Dragon ranking had obtained a 7-colored giant dragon, which was 2,100 meters long. 2,100 meters multiplied by the 91 points of the ranking competition. Finally, The rainbow dragon, circling above Wang Chuantao's head, reached an astonishing 19,000 meters in length. Just like the reward of obtaining the hidden dragon providence in the southern region's hidden dragon fortress, the giant rainbow dragon that was 190,000 meters long soared into the sky. It flew to the void tens of thousands of meters above the hidden dragon fortress and then quietly floated there. At the same time, the Thowling in Yu Haoran's mind secretly imprinted the mark that had just formed into Wang Chuantao's body. Then, it would wait for the hidden dragon providence to return to see how Wang Chuantao would embarrass himself and how he would face the hidden dragon providence that had greatly increased in strength. Looking at the giant rainbow dragon that was 190,000 meters long in the void above the hidden dragon fortress, the experts who had participated in the 5 regions hidden dragon ranking competition had nostalgic looks in their eyes. Some of the experts who did not participate in the competition or were unfortunately eliminated had looks of envy and jealousy in their eyes. The giant dragon's gaze shifted from Wang Chuantao to Wu Dao, who was 9th on the ranking list, and from the western region's spiritual mountain. Yu Haoran did not know if it was his imagination, but he seemed to sense a trace of disgust from the emotionless dragon's eyes. Sensing the gaze of the giant rainbow dragon in the air, a 9,000-meter-long rainbow dragon quickly rushed out of Wu Dao's body. 2 beams of dazzling rainbow light directly merged into the giant rainbow dragon's body. The dragon's body quickly expanded. The champion of the Western region Hidden Dragon Battle would obtain a 9,000-meter-long rainbow dragon, which would be multiplied by the 9th place of the 5 regions Hidden Dragon ranking competition. Wu Dao's final rainbow dragon, which symbolized the hidden dragon providence, was nearly 900,000 meters long. However, the rainbow dragon head formed by the hidden dragon providence did not give Wu Dao's rainbow dragon enough time to fully display itself. Its gaze immediately shifted to Kong Yong'e. A 2,100-meter-long rainbow dragon rushed out of Kong Yong'e's body. After merging with the 2 beams of dazzling rainbow light, the dragon's body also rapidly expanded. Although Kong Yong'e's ranking in the final ranking competition was higher than Wu Dao's, her ranking and the length of the hidden dragon providence in the hidden dragon ranking competition of their respective regions were far lower than Wu Dao's. Therefore, her 7-color dragon's body was only about 200,000 meters long in the end. To the careless Kong Yong'e, a 200,000-meter-long hidden dragon providence was enough to make her burst with joy. Therefore, she did not look displeased at all, even though her rainbow dragon's length was far shorter than Wu Dao's. Her attitude toward Wu Dao was different. It did not look at Yuan Haofei until Kong Yong'e's rainbow dragon soared tens of thousands of meters above the hidden dragon fortress. Sensing the gaze of the hidden dragon providence, Yuan Haofei immediately looked up at the rainbow dragon head in front of the ranking list. His eyes were filled with excitement. After exchanging glances, a 9,000-meter-long rainbow dragon shot out of Yuan Haofei's body. After merging with the 2 dazzling rainbow lights, the rainbow dragon's body reached a length of nearly 850,000 meters. At the same time, it also suppressed the rainbow dragons that represented the other contestants. The rainbow dragon head's gaze shifted to Xia Tianqi. The 5th place of the hidden dragon rank competition in the central region had obtained a 7-colored giant dragon, which was only 2,400 meters long. Chapter 1530. On the square of the hidden dragon fortress in the central region. Since Xia Tianqi was able to accept the 6th place on the leaderboard, he was mentally prepared for his final reward. Therefore, he did not show any anger or dissatisfaction when he saw that the length of the rainbow dragon he obtained was far less than the other competitors. When Xia Tianqi's rainbow dragon rose into the air, it looked at Huangfu Xiaoying, which made everyone look forward to it. Although Huangfu Xiaoying was only ranked 5th in the final competition, she was the champion of the hidden dragon leaderboard in the central region. Therefore, the length of the rainbow dragon she obtained would definitely exceed Wu Dao, who was ranked 2nd for the time being. With the hidden dragon Providence, which was about to evolve into another life form, there would definitely be no accidents. Huangfu Xiuying's rainbow dragon was close to 870,000 meters long, which was temporarily the best among the other dragons. Jian Wuhan had obtained a 3,000-meter-long seven-color dragon in the Southern Region Hidden Dragon Rank competition. Then, he had multiplied it with the points of 97 battles. In the end, he had obtained a seven-color dragon that was nearly 300,000 meters long. Wu Zhengjun had obtained a 4,000-meter, seven-colored giant dragon in the Southern Region Hidden Dragon Rank competition. Then, he had multiplied the points of the 98 battles, and the final reward had made the seven-colored giant dragon's body almost 400,000 meters long. When the rainbow dragon head's gaze landed on Siki, everyone present immediately showed great interest. Because when the Hidden Dragon Karmic Luck revealed the rankings of the final ranking competition earlier, everyone knew that Yusiki's ranking in the Southern Territory's Hidden Dragon rankings was merely ranked at the 29th position, and the rainbow-colored enormous dragon that obtained the Hidden Dragon Karmic Luck as a reward was merely 590 meters long. According to the rules of multiplying the results of the two regions, the rainbow dragon she obtained in the end would probably be ranked in the lower middle of the 99 contestants, which was not worthy of a runner-up title. However, more than a month ago, she only had the strength of the 29th place on the Hidden Dragon leaderboard. Now, she was able to maintain a perfect record in the ranking competition and defeat Yuan Haofei, Wu Dao, and Xia Qianqi with one-sword technique. This was one of the reasons why everyone was interested. In the end, just as everyone had expected, Yusiki's rainbow dragon was less than 60,000 meters long. She ranked 72nd out of the 99 contestants with points. Elder Shu, who was originally eager to beg Yusiki to return to the sect, could not help but hesitate when he saw the amount of hidden dragon blessing Yusiki had obtained. Because she didn't know if her begging was worth it in the end. On the other hand, Yusiki, whose eyes were tightly shut, was as calm as a pool of stagnant water. She ignored the mockery of everyone present and didn't care about the amount of hidden dragon luck she would obtain in the end. When the seven-color dragon head looked at Yu Haoran, everyone immediately held their breaths. The atmosphere immediately became heavy. At the same time, everyone's gaze turned towards the blue-clothed, handsome young man with a calm and tranquil temperament. Yu Haoran took a deep breath and looked directly at the rainbow dragon head's huge dragon eyes. Excitement and anticipation appeared in his eyes again. Yu Haoran did not have to wait too long. Two rainbow-colored lights that were much thicker and brighter than the other contestants rushed towards him. At the same time, a rainbow dragon that was 10,000 meters long quickly rushed out of Yu Haoran's body and took the initiative to meet the two rainbow-colored lights. After successfully merging with the two dazzling seven-colored lights, the seven-colored giant dragon that belonged to Yu Haoran did not slow down its flying speed. It allowed its body to expand rapidly as it charged directly into the void above the hidden dragon fortress. Faced with the rapidly approaching rainbow dragons, the rainbow dragons belonging to the other contestants either dodged to the side or lowered their heads deeply to show their submission. When Yu Haoran's rainbow dragon reached 70,000 meters in the void, its body had already reached 1,000,000 meters in length. However, its body did not stop expanding at all. When the rainbow dragon reached 80,000 meters in the void, its body had already expanded to 2,000,000 meters in length. When the rainbow dragon reached 90,000 meters in the void, its body had already reached 3,000,000 meters in length. When the rainbow dragon reached 100,000 meters in the void, its body had already exceeded 4,000,000 meters in length. In the end, it reached 4,200,000 meters in length. 4,200,000 meters, if converted into miles, would be more than 8,000 miles. More than 8,000 miles. Not only was it longer than what everyone could see with their naked eyes, but even if an expert at the peak of the 9th grade Martial Saint realm used their mind, they would not be able to see the rainbow dragon's full appearance immediately. Looking at the rainbow dragon that was more than 8,000 miles in length, everyone fell into a state of shock. At the same time, the same thought appeared in their minds. When the seven-colored dragon returned, if Yu Haoran chose to break through to the Martial Saint realm on the spot, he would be able to reach the peak of the Martial Saint realm. Roar! Just as Yu Haoran's rainbow dragon completed its transformation, a rainbow dragon that was only 1,000 meters in length suddenly let out a deafening roar towards the sky. Accompanied by the deafening roar, the rainbow dragon that was only 1,000 meters in length quickly rushed towards Tang Hyaming, who was standing in the central square. Seeing that the rainbow dragons that others had obtained were tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of meters in length, while his rainbow dragon was still only 1,000 meters in length, Tang Hyaming finally decided to lead the entire family out of the southern region immediately and head to the central region that was more suitable for cultivation. After the rainbow dragon that was more than 1,000 meters in length merged into his body, Tang Hyaming, who did not want to stay and embarrass himself, cupped his hands towards the rainbow dragon head in front of the list. Then he directly flew up and left the central square, leaving the hidden dragon fortress in the central region. Regarding this, a trace of disdain appeared in everyone's eyes. Knowing when to yield and when to stand tall, being able to endure and when to retreat, being able to fight and fight. This was the mentality that a cultivator should have when facing a predicament. Running away when faced with a predicament was always synonymous with the weak. The highest achievement that Tang Hyaming had achieved in his life was the peak of a 9th grade martial saint. Roar! Just as Tang Hyaming cupped his hands and left the central square, a rainbow dragon that was more than 2,000 meters in length also let out a deafening roar towards the sky. Then, it directly charged towards Cheng Yuanheng, who was in the central square. Although he was also not satisfied with the length of the rainbow dragon's body, in the face of double the hidden dragon luck, Cheng Yuanheng directly chose to break through to the martial saint realm on the spot. Roar! That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.